Long Chen had no choice but to consume this poison pill after seeing the power of the Bloodkill Hall's assassins and ancient race experts that had been sent after him. Although Long Chen had killed Dan Chu, he had no choice but to admit that luck had played a part in it. But that luck had been created with his own power and scheming. As for the twin assassins, he had relied on the arm guard and boots to launch a sudden counterattack to reverse the tide. But that kind of thing would only happen once. The second time, it would be ineffective. Furthermore, he was sure those twin assassins had more trump cards that they hadn't used yet. He hadn't seen the three ancient race experts, but he could sense a feeling of grave danger from each of them. Each one of them had the power to fight him to the brink of death. It was unknown whether it was Long Chen who was lucky or Dan Chu who was unlucky, but he had allowed Long Chen to steal so much of his spiritual yuan and flame energy, causing him to go from an easy win to losing his life. If Long Chen had been in his peak state when he fought Dan Chu, perhaps there would have been another conclusion. Dan Chu would have been fighting him all out from the start, not giving Long Chen any chance at all. The soul-devouring violet flame was too powerful, and if they had started fighting all out from the start, Long Chen would have been at a huge disadvantage since their flames were not even close to the same level. The reason he had managed to con Dan Chu step by step and kill him was because Long Chen had profited from his previous misfortune. But of course, such a thing could only happen with Dan Chu's cooperation. Not everyone had such arrogance and idiocy. If he had been in his peak state, at best he would have tied with Dan Chu. To defeat him would have been very difficult, and killing him would have been basically impossible. Dan Chu was dead, but there were still those twin assassins and three terrifying ancient race experts, each of them just as strong as Dan Chu. One problem was that Long Chen's cultivation base was too low. They were all experts at the 9th heaven stage of foundation forging, while he was still at the 4th heaven stage. But the thing that pained Long Chen the most was that his body couldn't cope with his cultivation base. He wasn't able to unleash his full power. And if he increased his cultivation base again, which he could right now, his movements would be even more restricted. His actual combat power would probably drop. If he didn't resolve this problem, he might not be able to fight anyone once he reached the 9th heaven stage. Just trying to use his power would cause his body to explode. This was too stifling. So despite seeing how fierce and sinister this Mandara body-tempering pill was, Long Chen had no choice but to steal his heart and swallow it. Boom! Long Chen had only just consumed it when he felt like a volcano had exploded within him. Boundless medicinal energy was pouring throughout his body. It was like a scorpion hive had exploded, and millions of scorpions were rampaging in his body. Long Chen coughed up a mouthful of blood. It was black as ink and released a strong fishy smell. How toxic! Long Chen cursed inside. His whole body became black, and pain racked his entire body. The blazing dragon cauldron unleashed a ray of light that was about to envelop him, but Long Chen stopped it. Don't. I can endure it. Long Chen was a bit moved. The blazing dragon cauldron was actually worried about him being poisoned to death and wanted to help him. It was willing to even use its little remaining core energy to remove the poison from his body. That was a big sacrifice. But Long Chen needed this poison to circulate around every inch of his body. He couldn't counterattack. He needed to open every bit of his body so that the poison could infect every cell. Even though he considered himself to have a pretty good tolerance for pain, he almost couldn't bear it. The veins on his forehead popped up, and his eyes bulged out. He felt like his body was about to explode. But he obstinately clenched his teeth and endured the pain. Blood dripped out from how hard he clenched his teeth. The Mandara body-tempering pill had the greatest effect the first time. He had to use this chance to violently stimulate his body's potential. The more his body felt like it was about to die, the greater his body would work to grow under the threat of the poison. Long Chen was confident in his body. It could definitely endure this. The only question was whether he could endure the torment of the pain or not. After several breaths, Long Chen was laying on the ground, twitching. But he did his best not to scream or to roll around. Any movements would waste energy. What he needed to do was to focus all his strength on enduring the pain. He couldn't waste any. 20 hours passed before the pain gradually faded. Long Chen was lying there like a dead dog. He rested for 2 incense sticks worth of time before getting up and sitting. The poison has faded. Looks like the antitoxin pills I prepared were for nothing. My body's even stronger than I expected. Long Chen put away a white pill. Afraid of dying, he had prepared this antitoxin pill, but he hadn't needed it in the end. Blazing Dragon Cauldron, let's continue and refine a few more. Long Chen summoned the Blazing Dragon Cauldron back to his side and started refining the Mandara body tempering pills once more. He took advantage of this time when the poison hadn't been completely expelled from his body to consume another one, multiplying its effect. Normally, people would have to wait until the poison was completely expelled before continuing, or the superimposition of the poison would kill them. But Long Chen found that his body was even stronger than he had expected. In order to let his body get as strong as possible, he had to push it. Only by strengthening his body to the limit would he be able to unleash the full power of his immortal platforms, and only then could he increase his cultivation base without worry. As a result, Long Chen refined one, and then ate one, over and over. After 5 Mandara body tempering pills, Long Chen had gone through the same torture 5 times. By this time, his body had already formed a resistance against the Mandara body tempering pill, and it could no longer stimulate his body. Following this, Long Chen drank a mouthful of the divine life elixir, instantly expelling the remaining poison. He immediately felt refreshed, as if every one of his cells had been cleansed. He felt full of power. Letting out a punch, space rumbled and twisted. Long Chen had a feeling that he could destroy heaven and earth. Although that was bragging, he did believe that with the current power of his physical body, he could instantly kill a rank 7 celestial with a punch. He beat his chest a few times, causing loud rumbling to ring out. There was almost a metallic ringing sound echoing throughout the room. Hee, I didn't poison myself in vain. Long Chen smiled. He was extremely satisfied with the effect of the Mandara body tempering pill. Whether or not I can advance to the 5th heaven stage will be up to you 3. Long Chen took out the 3 drops of Yuan's spirit divine elixir. He swallowed them into his stomach. Time passed day by day. The 4 nations' ancient remnant was in chaos as the Grand Xia, Grand Zhou, and Grand Chu's experts were slaughtered. At first, they had all been suspicious of each other. But in the end, one of the experts of the Grand Xia managed to slaughter his way out of the encirclement of his enemies, spreading the news that the Grand Han was slaughtering the other nations' experts, infuriating and shocking them. They all used secret communication methods to gather together. By the time the 3 nations' experts gathered, they found that over half of them had already been killed. The Grand Xia's crown prince, Xia Yunfeng, immediately felt like something was wrong. He brought the remaining elites of the Grand Xia toward the transportation point. You guys go first. I need to search for Yuluo. Xia Yunchong cared too much about his little sister. He refused to leave the secret gathering point before seeing her. Not only was Xia Yuluo missing, even Long Chen hadn't sent any word. Long Chen was also carrying one of the Grand Xia's jade plates, and as long as he was alive, he should have received word to gather. But in truth, Long Chen was within the inheritance palace, and he was isolated from all news. The jade plate didn't sense anything. Don't cause trouble. The signal was already released, so if they were still alive, they'd have definitely gathered with us. And if they're dead, what's the point of staying behind? Shouted Xia Yunfeng gravely. This is no small matter. Since the Grand Han dares to attack us, the Grand Chu and Grand Zhou at the same time, they clearly started preparing a long time ago. The 4 nations' ancient remnant is just a trap. What we need to do is leave alive. Sacrificing ourselves will only make things worse. Right now, we're surrounded by enemies, and it's very unfavorable for us. It's almost time for the exit to open, so we have to test our luck and see if we can escape before our enemies seal us off. Otherwise, we'll all die. Xia Yunchong shook his head. I am different from you. You are the crown prince, while I'm not. Imperial brother, I respect you, but sorry, I can't listen to you. I must find Yuluo and Long Chen. If they're alive, I want to see them alive, and if they're dead, I want to see their corpses. Xia Yunfeng coldly ordered, Don't be so willful. Right now, I'm using my status as crown prince to order you to leave. Xia Yunfeng and Xia Yuncheng were different. The former relied more on his intelligence than his martial might. As soon as he had learned that the Grand Han's experts were openly slaughtering the other three nations' experts, his sharp intuition had told him something was wrong. Since Long Chen and Xia Yuluo hadn't returned, that only meant that they were dead. If even experts on the level of Long Chen and Xia Yuluo hadn't managed to release a distress signal before dying, then their enemies had to be truly terrifying. Either they hadn't had time to release the distress call or they had felt like releasing the distress call would only cause more people to die with them. Either way, it didn't bode well. Xia Yunfeng was ashen as he furiously scolded Xia Yuncheng. Right now, Xia Yuncheng's actions were foolish in his eyes. Not only were his actions useless, but they would also cause him to forfeit his life. He would then lose any chance of getting revenge for Long Chen and Xia Yuluo. Haha. Truly worthy of being the Grand Xia's wise crown prince. Unfortunately, even if you were smarter, you still wouldn't be able to escape my palm. Suddenly, a cold cry rang out. Han Wenjun appeared in the distance along with a group of Grand Han's experts. They numbered 2,800, while the Grand Xia's side had less than 1,000 people now. Bastard, release Yu Luo. When Xia Yuncheng saw Han Wenjun holding a maiden in his hand, his eyes almost tore out of their sockets. Han Wenjun was holding Xia Yuluo in his hand. Xia Yuluo was pale, her eyes red. There was a red handprint on the corner of her mouth. Blood slowly dripped out of her lips and onto her clothes. She no longer had that arrogant appearance she had before. Seeing this, all the Grand Xia's experts began to burn with killing intent. Release Princess Yuluo, or we'll slaughter all of you. This time, even Xia Yunfeng wasn't able to keep his calm. Xia Yuluo had always been the pride of the Grand Xia's people. Everyone adored her and they collectively pampered her. Let alone beating or scolding her, they weren't even willing to say a few harsh words to her. Seeing her bleeding, Xia Yuncheng clenched his teeth. He had an urge to charge forward right now and kill these sanctimonious Grand Han bastards. Big brother, Xia Yolua's cultivation base was sealed right now. She looked like her soul had left her body. But when she heard that familiar voice, she opened her eyes. Seeing her brothers, she let out a hoarse cry, tears streaming down her face. She was full of remorse now. When she had encountered Han Wenjun, he had suddenly captured her. At that time, Han Wenjun had revealed his ugly side. She had never imagined that the perfect man she had once worshipped was actually a wolf in sheep's clothing. When she asked why he was doing this, his reply made her heart turn to ice. Han Wenjun's goal was strikingly similar to those words Long Chen had said when he had been scolding her. Everything was the Grand Han's sinister scheme. Thinking of how she had once defended Han Wenjun and fought against Long Chen, she almost died of embarrassment. Now she had become a hostage Han Wenjun was using to threaten his people. Xia Yuluo had tried several times to stealthily kill herself, but she hadn't succeeded. Each time she was stopped by Li Wanji. With her cultivation base sealed, she didn't even have the power to commit suicide. Hatred filled her heart. Long Chen had been right. She had felt her life was boring, and so she had made up her own fantasies of the outside world. She had imagined the outside world to be perfect and beautiful, while everything around her was dull. Realizing this now was too late. Looking at the sneering Han Wenjun and the others, for some unknown reason, she suddenly thought of a scoundrel face that always had a naughty smile on it. Han Wenjun, Long Chen definitely won't let you off. With tears in her eyes, she didn't know why, but she didn't cry out her big brother's name, nor did she call out for her father. Instead, she called out Long Chen's name. Perhaps in her mind, that fellow who was never proper but had huge guts was more dependable, more worthy of her trust. Suddenly, Li Wanji slapped her across the face. Slut, shut up. This slap was not only a slap across Xia Yolua's tender face, but a slap across the Grand Xia's experts' hearts. Die! Xia Yuncheng was the first to roar and charge at Li Wanji. A terrifying pressure erupted into the air, and his undefeatable will locked onto Li Wanji. In that instant, Li Wanji felt herself to be an insignificant ant in the face of an angry lion. She felt like she was about to be torn to pieces the next second. The most terrifying thing was that when this will locked onto her, she couldn't even form a desire to resist. The only thing she thought to do was to run. Let me experience your undefeatable Tao. Suddenly, one of the three monarchs, Han Bijuan, smashed a fist at Xia Yuncheng. Boom. Their fists collided and a powerful windstorm erupted. Han Bijuan was shocked as he was sent flying. He wasn't Xia Yuncheng's match. All of you can die. Xia Yuncheng seemed insane. His roar was like thunder, shaking their eardrums. His undefeatable will was crushing their hearts. The Grand Han's experts were all shocked. They had long since heard that the #1 warrior of the Grand Han, Xia Yuncheng, cultivated the undefeatable Tao and was unrivaled in the same realm. Now that they saw it, they finally understood the terror of those who cultivated this Tao. In Xia Yuncheng's fury, he directly summoned his rank 8 celestial manifestation. Within this manifestation was a faint image of a dragon, the support of the dragon vein. Normally, this illusory figure would unleash blinding light. But now, it was faint because its connection to the Grand Xia's dragon vein had been severed. I want to try it as well. Seeing that Han Bijuan was unable to stop him, Han Qijuan joined in. Both of them unleashed their manifestations which had dragon images in them as well. The three of them fought intensely while everyone else backed up, shocked by their power. They were shocked to find that even Han Bijuan and Han Qijuan were still forced to fall back by Xia Yuncheng. Imperial brother, let's go kill them. One of the other Grand Xia's princes couldn't help but stealthily give a suggestion to Xia Yunfeng. We can't. Yuluo is in their hands. Our hands are tied. Xia Yunfeng's head was rapidly working as he tried to come up with a solution. But he couldn't. There was one question he didn't know the answer to. The Grand Han clearly wasn't strong enough, so how could they dare to fearlessly sneak attack the other three nations? If Xia Yuluo wasn't in their hands and their two sides were to fight right at this moment, the Grand Han wouldn't be able to get any advantage over them. That was what made him the most uneasy. Rising Dragon Fist. Suddenly, the roaring of a dragon could be heard. Xia Yuncheng's fist unleashed an illusory dragon that sent Han Qijuan and Han Bijuan flying. They were both shocked. The two of them were also supported by their dragon vein, and they were also rank 8 celestials. But even working together, they were not Xia Yuncheng's match. Xia Yuncheng was like an angry lion, unleashing boundless killing intent. Standing in the air, he was like an undefeatable battle god, looking down on all of them. He once more let out a punch. Just at this moment, Li Wanji flew in front of the two of them. It wasn't that she was powerful enough to block Xia Yuncheng, but that she held a protective talisman in her hand. Xia Yuncheng hastily retracted his fist and retreated, glaring at Li Wanji. His killing intent was soaring. Li Wanji was holding Xia Yuluo's neck. Xia Yuluo wanted to struggle, but she was powerless to do so with her cultivation base sealed. She could only be carried by Li Wanji. A clapping sound rang out and Han Wenjun walked out, praising, truly worthy of being the Grand Xia's undefeatable Tao warrior. This kind of combat power is admirable. However, you might have your undefeatable Tao, but I have my own undefeatable card. I wonder, which one of them is truly undefeatable? Kneel. Han Wenjun stood with his hands behind his back, looking at Xia Yuncheng coldly. Li Wanji tightened her hand over Xia Yuluo's neck, indenting it. But Xia Yuluo didn't make a sound. Not even her body twitched. She knew if she expressed any pain, it would only make things harder on Xia Yuncheng and the others. Seeing Xia Yuluo being humiliated like this caused Xia Yuncheng and the others' eyes to almost tear out of their sockets. Xia Yuluo was the Grand Xia's princess, and she had never suffered such a thing before. All of the Grand Xia's experts wanted to tear Li Wanji apart. Li Wanji simply sneered at them. Xia Yuncheng, are you deaf? Kneel. Or do you want your little sister to die right in front of you? Xia Yuncheng trembled from rage. But looking at Xia Yuluo caught in Li Wanji's hand, he finally slowly lowered himself. Yuncheng, don't. You cultivate the undefeatable Tao. If you submit to others, your Tao heart will be destroyed. Roared Xia Yunfeng furiously. Cultivating the undefeatable Tao required maintaining an undefeatable Tao heart. If the Tao heart was fractured, Their cultivation base would forever stop advancing. They would be crippled. Li Wanji, Han Wenjun, and the others coldly stared at Xia Yuncheng. Seeing that his whole body was trembling, they smiled. "Don't dash." Xia Yuluo did her best to shout, but Li Wanji increased the force in her hand, causing Xia Yuluo to cough up blood. "Stop!" Xia Yuncheng roared, his voice full of killing intent. He looked like his eyes were about to bleed. In front of everyone, Xia Yuncheng really knelt on the ground. The Grand Xia's experts felt their hearts breaking. A generation's undefeatable Dao cultivator was crippled just like this. Han Wenjun, Han Bijuan, Han Qijuan, Li Wanji, and the other Grand Han's experts all laughed, their laughter full of derision and mocking. Undefeatable Dao? What dog's hit? Didn't he still kneel in front of my Grand Han's experts? The Grand Xia's people are all pigs. For them to be called one of the 4 ancient nations along with my Grand Han is truly an insult. Do you know? The Grand Zhou and Grand Chu's experts have already been annihilated. Only your Grand Xia remains. What are you all waiting for? Don't you think it's time for you to kneel and beg for mercy? The Grand Han's side laughed, but their words caused the Grand Xia's experts' hearts to shake. The Grand Zhou and Grand Chu's experts had all been annihilated? This news caused Xia Yunfeng's expression to change. It meant that Grand Han truly did have some unknown trump card. Xia Yunfeng, what are you waiting for? Don't you think you should take the lead to bring your people to kneel before my Grand Han's princes? Perhaps they'll be nice and let you live out the rest of your dog lives, said Li Wanji. Xia Yunfeng took a deep breath. He shook his head. Since things have progressed to here, there's no need to say more. I admit that your Grand Han wins this game of chess. However, don't get too pleased. After winning this match, we'll see how your Grand Han survives the fury of the Grand Xia, Grand Chu, and Grand Zhou. Warriors of the Grand Xia, we've fallen into a trap. We probably won't be able to get out alive. But if I, Xia Yunfeng, can fight until my last breath with all of you, my brothers, then I have no regrets left. Brothers, take out your weapons. We fight. Kill! The Grand Xia's experts erupted into a heaven-shaking roar and charged at the Grand Han's experts. Li Wanji sneered. She slowly raised Xia Yuluo. As long as anyone approached, she would kill her first. Long Chen, will I never see you again? Xia Yuluo closed her eyes and awaited her death. But she had one regret. She would never be able to see that face again. Xia Yuncheng had no way to resist. He would only be able to watch as his little sister died in front of him. He was full of killing intent. He was simply waiting for Xia Yuluo to die. Then he would kill every single one of them as retribution. Suddenly, a black object shot over like a black shooting star. The black object shot over without any pressure. Only once it was close did they sense a change in the air behind them. A black shooting star pierced through the air at incredible speed. They had only just managed to see the black object when it smashed into the back of Li Wanji's head. Li Wanji was holding Xia Yoluo's neck and sneering at Xia Yuncheng and the others, just waiting for them to get close before killing her so the Grand Xia's people would see their princess die. However, she had no idea that something was flying toward her. The black object smashed into her head, instantly blowing it up and annihilating her soul. It happened so suddenly that no one could react at all. Even the Grand Han's side hadn't had a chance to warn Li Wanji before she was killed. The Grand Xia's side was also caught off guard by this sudden change, and they paused their attack. They saw the black object fall to the ground after killing Li Wanji. It spun around a few times. A black pot. No one could believe what the murder weapon was. But it really was a black pot. Yes, it was a very, very black pot. And whoever had sent it flying over was also very black-hearted. They had instantly killed a rank 8 celestial. The black pot looked completely unremarkable. It seemed like it had been made of regular iron. It had no runes, it had no pressure, but it had killed a rank 8 celestial. Kill Xia Yuluo. Han Wenjun was the first to react. Xia Yuncheng had already started flying over to Xia Yuluo. She was currently falling with Li Wanji's headless corpse. At this moment, the closest one to Xia Yuluo, Han Bijuan, shot after her. He had made the decision not to kill Xia Yuluo. Instead, he grabbed her neck, wanting to continue using her as a hostage. "Fuck your mother." Pow. Just at this moment, a large hand came from an inconceivable angle and viciously slapped across Han Bijuan's face. The immense force directly caused Han Bijuan to explode. Bloody mist filled the air, and his soul was exterminated as well. A new figure appeared where he had been. Long Chen. The Grand Xia and Grand Han's sides let out startled cries. But the Grand Xia's startled cries were delighted, while the Grand Han's ones were stunned. He had killed 2 rank 8 Celestials right at the start. Just how domineering was that? He instantly shocked everyone here. Long Chen reached out and grabbed Xia Yuluo. He saw the injuries to her face. She looked incredibly miserable, especially with the clear handprint. "Sorry, I was late," said Long Chen. As soon as Long Chen had left seclusion, he sensed that things had progressed to an extremely urgent point, and he had rushed over as fast as he could. Fortunately, he had arrived in time. "I knew you would come. I knew it." Xia Yuluo wailed into Long Chen's embrace, her voice so hoarse that it caused Long Chen pain. "All right, that's enough. You have to steel yourself. It's not over yet. There's still going to be a bitter battle ahead." Long Chen gently rubbed Xia Yuluo's back. His spiritual yuan poured into her body, undoing the seal to her cultivation base. He also gave her a recovery pill. "Brother Long, you've returned, excellent." Seeing that Xia Yuluo had been saved, Xia Yunfeng's voice was choked with sobs. In his heart, his little sister's life was more important than his. "Sorry for the delay. You should prepare yourself. The real battle starts now." Long Chen handed Xia Yuluo to Xia Yunfeng. Picking up the pot, he flew into the air, blood drinker resting on his shoulder and killing intent soaring out of him. "Idiots from the Bloodkill Hall, Ancient Races, and Pill Tower, weren't you just waiting for me to throw myself into your net? Well, I, Long Chen, have already arrived, so come out and face your deaths." Long Chen's shout shook the 9 heavens. Terrifying auras began to rise in all directions. Dozens of figures appeared, surrounding everyone. Seeing these people, Xia Yunfeng, Xia Yunchong, and the others' expressions completely changed. Now they finally knew what the Grand Han was relying on. There were over 80 newcomers. 5 of them were rank 8 Celestials, 27 were rank 7 Celestials, and the rest were all rank 6 Celestials. The most shocking thing to Xia Yunchong was that the 5 rank 8 Celestials all possessed incredibly terrifying auras, like immovable mountains. He suddenly felt a feeling that he couldn't possibly defeat them. When this feeling arose in his heart, Xia Yunchong felt a bit of sadness. He had never had this kind of feeling when facing someone in the same realm as him. He knew that his Dao heart had been destroyed, but he didn't regret it. If he hadn't knelt and managed to stall, Long Chen wouldn't have gotten back in time to save his little sister. "Long Chen, let's see where you run this time." The twin Bloodkill Hall assassins icily stared at Long Chen. Clearly, the fact that they hadn't killed Long Chen last time was their own carelessness. Now, they would definitely kill him to win back their face. "Idiot, was I the one to run last time?" said Long Chen. The two of them had no way to reply to that, as last time, they had truly been the ones to flee. If the ancient race experts hadn't come in time, they might already be dead. "Long Chen, you've repeatedly offended the ancient races. Today, the 4 nations' ancient remnant will be your burial ground," said the giant eagle race expert. His eyes glinted coldly, and light blossomed from his body. At the same time, the elephant race and tiger race experts began to gather their auras, ready for battle. The 3 ancient race experts' auras rose, while the twin Bloodkill Hall assassins had already raised their swords. Terrifying auras locked onto Long Chen. Long Chen looked over the 5 of them. His hair and black robes gently blew in the wind. He told the grave Xia Yunchong, "Leave the 5 of them to me. Do your best to lead the Grand Xia's men to cut down the remaining fellows." Hearing this, the Grand Xia's experts were all shocked. Although they weren't rank 8 Celestials, they were still elites. They could clearly sense just how terrifying each of those people was. They could not be compared to Li Wanji or Han Bijuan or the like. They were true experts, but Long Chen wanted to fight them 1 against 5. "Brother Long, let us brothers fight shoulder to shoulder today against these powerful enemies," said Xia Yunchong. He knew that any one of these 5 could kill him. That wasn't entirely just because he had lost his undefeatable Dao. This was his intuition based on his immense experience. He had already given up any hope of leaving here alive. He simply wanted to fight and die alongside Long Chen. His only hope was that he would be able to last long enough that Xia Yuluo could escape. Powerful enemies? They aren't fit to be called that. Don't worry, I'm not going to be some hero who dies for others. My life is quite precious. I still have so many lovers and hot-blooded brothers waiting for me to return home. There's no need to say any more. Take care of that little bastard Han Wenjun. He's not the old Han Wenjun any longer, so don't be careless. Divine Ring. 4-star battle armor. Boom. It was like a volcano had erupted from within Long Chen's body. A pillar of chi soared into the sky. What stunned Xia Yunchong and the others was that in that instant, they were blown back just by his aura. As the divine ring revolved, heaven and earth trembled intensely, as if the world couldn't bear Long Chen's power. What? His power has risen to such a terrifying level? The twin assassins were shocked. After fighting Long Chen, they were completely clear on his power. Although he was powerful, he wasn't their match. If Long Chen hadn't used the arm protector and boots to unleash a sudden counterattack, they definitely would have had the power to kill him. No, that's wrong. Last time, his cultivation base was at the 4th heaven stage, and now he's at the 5th heaven stage. But how could one minor realm advancement cause such a huge difference? Cried the twin assassins. What they didn't know was that Long Chen's cultivation base hadn't just advanced to the 5th heaven stage because of the 3 drops of Yuan's spirit divine elixir. His physical body had also strengthened a great deal thanks to the Mandara body tempering pills. The current Long Chen was capable of using all 108,000 immortal platforms in his body to their full effect. Now he had 4 Chi Cs and 108,000 immortal platforms giving him endless energy. Long Chen's aura continued to erupt. It felt like he had been stifled for too long, and so he was doing his best to release it all. As his aura rose, the ground began to explode. The pillar of Qi transformed into a coiling dragon charging through the clouds. Cracks spread far into the distance on the ground. Long Chen was like a battle god slowly releasing his power. As his power was revealed, it felt like the world couldn't contain him. In truth, Long Chen had no choice but to slowly release his power. As he didn't know whether his body could handle his full power, he could only take things step by step. By the time he had fully released his power, heaven and earth were shaking. Shortly after, that manifestation vanished and the rumbling world returned to calm, replaced by an indescribably dense murderous aura in the air. Right now, Long Chen was full of confidence. His body was finally able to bear his power. Just at this moment, a sword silently stabbed toward Long Chen's back without any warning. A large hand caught the sharp sword of one of the Bloodkill Hall's assassins. Long Chen smiled coldly upon catching the sword. He then suddenly pushed it to the side. Metallic ringing rang out as the sword crashed into the other assassin's sword. Both the Bloodkill Hall's assassins' expressions changed. A blood-red saber image erupted into existence before them. The 2 of them were shocked. They couldn't comprehend how Long Chen's reactions were so fast and how he was able to so easily break their combination attack. Last time, Long Chen had been barely able to stay alive under their attacks. But now he broke their attack in an instant. What they didn't know was that as the energy within Long Chen surged, the power of his physical body also greatly improved and he no longer needed to fight with his hands tied. Naturally, his fighting style was different now. Their swords intersected, blocking the saber. They felt like a mountain had crashed into them, and they were blown back, their arms shaking. They looked at Long Chen with shock. Long Chen's current power was far greater than any of their estimations. In this one exchange, they almost coughed up blood. "Your power's not bad. Taste one of my fists." Suddenly, the elephant race expert attacked. A sea of runes coiled around him, and he smashed a staff at Long Chen. This elephant race expert had a very large body, and that copper staff was thick enough to be a pillar. As the staff smashed down, it felt like the world was about to smash apart from its power. Long Chen met it with his saber. Space collapsed and the ground exploded as a terrifying chi wave swept out like a tsunami. With their weapons locked, the elephant race expert sneered, "Excellent. There aren't many humans capable of challenging my barbarian elephant race in power. But don't get too pleased. The power of my barbarian elephant race isn't something you inferior humans can contend against." With a roar, the elephant race expert's muscles all bulged. Veins popped up all over his body, and it was like a wild animal was roaring within him. Energy exploded out of him in waves. The two of their weapons were still locked, but the surrounding space was constantly exploding. A huge hole was formed in the ground that was no longer able to endure their power. Now it was so deep that they couldn't see the bottom. The barbarian elephant race had a high position, and they specialized in power. Even within the powerful ancient races, they stood at the top when it came to power. He had never heard of any human capable of contending against them. The barbarian elephant race expert was unleashing unprecedented power, and his aura caused the sky to tremble. He appeared unstoppable. And yet, shockingly, Long Chen's expression was still completely calm. No matter how the barbarian elephant race expert increased his power, Long Chen remained an immovable mountain. On the contrary, the barbarian elephant race expert's arms were shaking due to how much power he was using. He had ended up using his full power already. He was filled with shock. He could not comprehend how Long Chen's human body could block his immense power. The ancient race's bragging is always heaven-shaking. But in the end, they don't have the slightest ability. You're just hybrids who forget your ancestors. Don't forget, the human race is your ancestor. You might want to only acknowledge the blood of the Xian beasts and look down on the human race, but you don't even understand why the human race is known as the most spiritual being. Today, I'll let you see what true power is. The 108,000 immortal platforms in Long Chen's body rapidly revolved. This time, he was pushing his power to the peak in one go instead of slowly raising it. Instead of a slow trickle from a lake, it was like the entire lake was discharged. This kind of instant eruption of power was something Long Chen wouldn't have dared to do without the previous test. Power roared through Long Chen's arms. It was like a volcano that had been storing up energy for 10,000 years was erupting. The elephant race expert vomited blood and flew back. All the ancient race experts were shocked. They had never imagined that the barbarian elephant race expert would lose to someone from the human race, and lose so completely at that. "Attack together," shouted the eagle race expert. Wielding a lance, the runes on his wings surged, and he took the lead in attacking Long Chen. The tiger race expert beside him roared and then suddenly became illusory. He shot toward Long Chen, his hands becoming sharp tiger claws. This tiger race expert was a descendant of the shadow devil tiger race, one of the Xian beasts. They were all incredibly fast. As for their pair of tiger claws, those were their innate martial weapons and they were incomparably sharp. The elephant race expert was shocked and furious, his killing intent surging. Long Chen's power had caused him to lose face. Facing these three powerful experts, Long Chen definitely would have died if he had been fighting them when he had first entered the secret realm. But now he had no fear for them. He sent out a single slash. Although the three of them had attacked at the same time, the huge eagle race expert's lance had to be 6 meters long, and he was the closest. Long Chen's first attack was targeted on him. The eagle race expert's body was instantly blown back upon contact with Long Chen's saber. There was clearly no way for him to resist Long Chen's power. Using the arm protector on his left hand, he blocked the elephant race expert's staff, but as a result, he was knocked back. However, when the elephant race expert knocked Long Chen back, a bad feeling rose in his heart. He shouted, "Watch out!" Long Chen had intentionally allowed himself to be knocked back. But it was too late. Borrowing the elephant race expert's power, he shot like an arrow at the tiger race expert who was charging toward him. The tiger race expert had been accumulating power on his way over to Long Chen. His aim had been to store up the perfect amount of energy for when he arrived at Long Chen's side. But halfway there, Long Chen suddenly appeared in front of him, catching him off guard. Seeing a kick coming toward him, he blocked it with his claws. As a result, the tiger race expert was sent flying, the bones in his arms broken. He vomited blood and shot back like a shooting star. It had to be known that Long Chen had borrowed a portion of the elephant race expert's power and activated his king item boots to shoot over at this speed. If it had been an ordinary rank 8 celestial, this kick would have killed them. Then using the rebound power, Long Chen flipped back, twisting through the air. Blood Drinker slashed through the air. Split the heavens 3. A blood-colored saber image looked like it was hitting nothing. But when it fell, space exploded in front of it, revealing 2 shocked faces. Those 2 were the Bloodkill Hall's assassins. When Long Chen had attacked the ancient race experts, they had used their secret art to conceal themselves and launch a fatal attack. As top assassins of the Bloodkill Hall, they had the utmost confidence in their concealing arts. And with the 2 of them absorbing the others' killing intent, it made it even more impossible for others to sense them. Countless experts had died to their blades. But they had only just hidden themselves and started preparing to strike when Long Chen struck them. There was no way to dodge this fierce attack, so they hastily blocked. But one side was attacking suddenly, while the other was hastily meeting the attack. The twins ended up knocked back, vomiting blood. "Impossible! How did you notice us?" roared the 2 of them in disbelief. "Idiot, don't use the same move twice in front of me or you'll die," sneered Long Chen. Then, ignoring the 2 of them, he shot after the 3 ancient race experts. In truth, these twin Bloodkill Hall assassins were extremely powerful. With their killing intent absorbed by the other, he truly found it difficult to sense their hostility. In an intense battle, it was even more difficult to sense them. But Long Chen wasn't a fool. How could he allow them to unleash such terrifying assassination arts? The first moment they had sneak attacked him, when he had caught one of their swords, he had used his own blood mixed with some medicinal powders to leave a mark on the sword. Then he had smashed that sword into the other assassin's sword. Now both those swords were marked with his specific aura. This aura was essentially impossible for others to sense. But Long Chen was extremely sensitive to his blood, especially the dragon blood essence within it. He was able to clearly pinpoint their positions without even seeing them. Of course, he wouldn't tell them this secret. Instead, he used some braggart words that could anger them to death. As a result, the 2 of them were infuriated and shocked. They were unable to see any clues as to how Long Chen had broken their concealing arts. Since that was the case, they decided to stop using their hidden assassination arts and instead charge at Long Chen. With the 2 Bloodkill Hall assassins and the 3 ancient race experts, Long Chen was now fighting 5 rank 8 celestials. But what shocked everyone was that Long Chen seemed unstoppable. Even on his own, he suppressed the other 5. He was the one who decided the battle's tempo. As the 6 of them fought a heaven-shaking battle in the distance, Han Wenjun was filled with envy. Suddenly, he looked at Xia Yuluo. He saw that she had already recovered and was looking worshipfully at Long Chen, looking intoxicated. His fury soared. "Everyone attack! Kill every last member of the Grand Xia!" shouted Han Wenjun. He led the Grand Han's experts in attacking the Grand Xia's side. Following them were the ancient race's remaining members, as well as 6 experts from the Pill Tower. Long Chen fought intensely against the 5 powerful enemies, with Blood Drinker dancing through the air. People could only see 6 figures shooting back and forth as the sky shook around them. Seeing that Long Chen could fight against these 5 powerful experts, Han Wenjun was deeply shocked. He sent out the order for everyone to attack the distant Grand Xia experts. A vague feeling of unease appeared in Han Wenjun's heart. Perhaps he would have to capture the Grand Xia's experts in order to enter an invincible position. At the very least, he had to capture Xia Yuluo. "Han Wenjun, I'll kill you, you bastard." Suddenly, a woman's cry full of killing intent rang out. A sword slashed at Han Wenjun like a flying rainbow. "Humph, little slut, I'll capture you again right now." Han Wenjun sneered and suddenly reached out. Runes lit up on his fingers as he caught Xia Yuluo's sword, while his other hand reached toward her throat. Xia Yuluo was shocked. Instead of injuring him when her sword struck his hand, she found herself unable to pull it back. She had never imagined Han Wenjun was this terrifyingly powerful. An explosion of energy came from Han Wenjun's palm. Xia Yuluo's whole body shook and she vomited a mouthful of blood. She was instantly injured and unable to resist at all as Han Wenjun's hand reached for her throat. "Fuck off!" A furious roar rang out, and a fist smashed into Han Wenjun's palm. Xia Yunchong had arrived, blocking his attack, while also pushing Xia Yuluo back. But when Xia Yunchong's fist collided with Han Wenjun's palm, his expression changed. He was actually forced back by Han Wenjun. "Xia Yuluo, get back and protect the crown prince," shouted Xia Yunchong, his expression grave. "But, listen to orders. Go protect the crown prince," ordered Xia Yunchong. Xia Yuluo's eyes were red. She felt herself to be useless. The person who had tricked her was right in front of her, but she couldn't get revenge and had implicated her big brother. Clenching her teeth, she flew over to Xia Yunfeng and the others, who were currently besieged by powerful enemies. Once Xia Yuluo was gone, Xia Yunchong turned to face Han Wenjun icily. "No wonder Long Chen said you were no longer the old you. You actually absorbed the Grand Chu and Grand Zhou's dragon vein energy for yourself. Now your power isn't any lower than those top experts." Others might not be able to tell, but the instant Xia Yunchong had been forced back by Han Wenjun's palm, he had realized something was wrong. Using his dragon vein energy to see, he finally sensed a huge dragon vein image supporting Han Wenjun from behind him. It was several times stronger than his own dragon vein energy. This kind of dragon vein image was something only those who possessed dragon vein energy could sense. And yet it hadn't escaped Long Chen's senses either. Ah, correct. "The Grand Zhou and Grand Chu's imperial disciples have been killed by me, and I've already absorbed all their dragon vein energy. As soon as all your Grand Xia's imperial disciples are killed, the Grand Xia, the Grand Zhou, and the Grand Chu will have lost a third of their karmic luck. This karmic luck will end up supporting my Grand Han, so your three nations will decline, while my Grand Han will only grow stronger. We won't need to waste any time thinking of how to get any historical remnants, making any idols, or stealing any cultural inheritances. Only my Grand Han ancient nation will remain within the Central Plains." Ha! Han Wenjun laughed uproariously, his voice full of pride. It was like he could already see the day of the Grand Han uniting all the ancient nations. "Keep dreaming. Shameless bastards, you're just idiots with overblown confidence. Today, I'll let you and your ambitions die within this ancient remnant." Xia Yunchong shot forward, unleashing a whistling fist at Han Wenjun. "The idiot is you, Xia Yunchong. With your connection to your dragon vein severed, the amount of dragon vein energy you can use has dropped. Furthermore, you've already knelt to me, and you no longer have the power of your undefeatable Tao. Without the pressure of the undefeatable Tao restricting me, you still think you can win? Keep dreaming. You're the one who will die here." Han Wenjun smiled contemptuously. If it was before, he definitely wouldn't have dared to fight Xia Yunchong in a one-against-one. But now, he had stolen the Grand Chu and Grand Zhou's dragon vein energy for himself, as well as broken Xia Yunchong's undefeatable Tao. He was fearless. Their fist and palm once more collided, and both sides were knocked back by the other. "Even without the domain of my undefeatable Tao, I, Xia Yunchong, am not someone an idiot like you can look down upon," shouted Xia Yunchong. He clearly sensed that his undefeatable will was no longer able to suppress others, but that didn't affect the rest of his combat powers. Han Wenjun was shocked inside. Even without the suppression of the undefeatable Tao, making it so he could unleash his full power when fighting, he was still unable to suppress Xia Yunchong. His urge to kill Xia Yunchong rose. The two of them continued a fierce fight, while Xia Yuluo flew over to the other powerful enemies besieging the Grand Xia's side. "Kill!" Xia Yuluo suddenly let out a furious roar. She who had been living a golden life and weaving her own dreams of the rest of the world had finally seen the cruelty of reality. She hated herself for being naive, she hated herself for being foolish, and now she was transforming all this hatred into boundless killing intent. Her sword mercilessly flew through the air. Each of her attacks was incredibly vicious, her moves almost suicidal. Her enemies were not able to stop her. She felt like she had gone crazy. She needed to kill people, to kill all these enemies. That was the only way to vent her fury, her hatred, and to relieve the pain in her heart. "Watch out, this woman's crazy," shouted an ancient race expert. Xia Yolua's eyes were red, and she was unleashing boundless killing intent. She was ignoring other people's attacks, continuously launching attacks where she exchanged injury for lives. In the first instant, she took the lives of 7 rank 7 celestials. Xia Yuluo felt herself to be insane. She even felt a desire to die fighting on this battlefield, like that was the only way to relieve her guilt. On this battlefield, the only rank 8 celestial from the Grand Han, Han Chijuan, went all out to block Xia Yolua's sword. As a result, he almost coughed up blood in his first exchange with her. "Ignore the others for now. Kill this crazy woman," shouted Han Chijuan. Xia Yolua's talent was innately high, and if it weren't for her willful desire to have fun, her accomplishments probably wouldn't be any less than Xia Yuncheng's. Xia Yolua's combat power was originally a level higher than Han Chijuan's. Now in this insane state, she had killed 10 experts, none of them capable of matching her. If Han Chijuan were to fight her 1 against 1, he wouldn't be able to last more than a few exchanges before being killed. Originally, the addition of the ancient races and the Pill Tower's experts should have allowed the Grand Han to completely suppress the Grand Xia's experts. But Xia Yolua's suicidal charge caught them completely off guard, and they abandoned their opponents to attack her. The current Xia Yuluo was absolutely terrifying. If they didn't quickly suppress her, then by the time they killed the rest of the Grand Xia's experts, she'd have also killed most of them. In just a moment, Xia Yuluo was fighting Han Chijuan as well as over 10 rank 7 celestials. In a few breaths, she was covered in injuries, blood dyeing her robes. She was beautiful in a poignant way. Xia Yuluo had taken these injuries in order to take the lives of 3 rank 7 celestials, giving her remaining opponents goosebumps. They were finally experiencing how terrifying women could be when they went crazy. More and more of their top experts were drawn over to deal with Xia Yuluo, relieving the pressure on the Grand Xia's experts. But seeing their princess covered in blood and fighting with her life on the line, they erupted with unprecedented power, going all out. Xia Yunfeng and the others also unleashed their greatest power. The battlefield's situation became critical. Long Chen was fighting 1 against 5, Xia Yuncheng was fighting Han Wenjun, and Xia Yuluo was drawing over the remaining top experts, allowing the remaining Grand Xia experts to fight back at their opponents in a bloody battle. These 4 battlefields were now all in a precarious state. If any of them took the advantage, it might affect the other battlefields, immediately causing a chain reaction. If any of these battlefields were defeated, it would immediately cause a one-sided dominance. The battle would basically be decided. So whether it was the Grand Xia's experts or their opponents, they were all going all out. Their blades were all merciless. People continuously died, their blood soaking into the ground. Long Chen's battle with the 5 experts had also reached its climax. At first, the 5 experts had been holding back. The ancient races and Bloodkill Hall didn't want to work together, so they were fighting for themselves. But then as the fight continued, they realized that if they didn't work together, they might really end up defeated by Long Chen. Just a little while back, Long Chen had created an opportunity to land a punch on the tiger race expert, causing him to wildly vomit blood. If it hadn't been for the elephant race expert's timely assistance, Long Chen would have killed him with his saber. As for the Bloodkill Hall's assassins, one of them was almost killed by a kick from him, and the other assassin had to launch an unexpected suicidal attack on Long Chen. Long Chen hadn't been assured of killing that person while also blocking this suicidal attack, which had saved the assassin's life. Having people from both their parties almost die shocked them. Long Chen's power was growing greater and greater. In the beginning, they had still been able to suppress him. But after an incense stick's worth of time, They were being hunted by Long Chen. Bastard! He's using us to adapt to his power. Everyone, stop holding back and kill him now. The eagle race expert finally came to a shocking realization. Long Chen's combat power was rising as his control over his power increased. Through the eagle race expert's warning, the others also realized this. They were both shocked and infuriated. They had actually ended up being a whetstone for Long Chen. "Don't hold back," roared the eagle race expert. His wings spread and golden runes flowed out. 2 runes revolved in his eyes as he activated his spirit blood. His lance viciously pierced at Long Chen, tearing through space with an ear-piercing rumble. The eagle race expert activated his spirit blood through a secret art. When the ancient races activated their spirit blood, their combat power would multiply, as they had the bloodline of the Xian beasts. This was different from when the human race activated their spirit blood. The spirit blood of the ancient races contained their Xian beast bloodline, but their bodies were in human form. They were unable to endure such terrifying power for a long time. That was why the ancient races also considered the human race as absolute garbage. The human race bloodline affected their combat power, making it so they were unable to fully unleash the power of the Xian beast bloodline within them. So they hated the human race. Now that he activated his spirit blood, his combat power crazily soared. However, his body wouldn't be able to endure this kind of power for long. He had to end the fight quickly. Boom! Long Chen's saber collided with the eagle race expert's lance. Long Chen's hand trembled and he was knocked back. Blood dripped down his hand. He was shocked inside. The ancient races truly had some skills. That was especially true for their rank 8 celestials. Their bloodline power was even more terrifying. The elephant and tiger race experts also unleashed the power of their bloodlines. Vast swathes of space twisted around them, while heaven and earth shook from their power. It was possible to vaguely hear the sound of an elephant cry and tiger roar. Killing God blessing, blood spirit sacrifice. At the same time, the Bloodkill Hall's assassins unleashed a shocking move. Blood poured out of every single one of their pores, condensing into runes that unleashed boundless murderous aura. The pressure from these 5 eruptions caused the entire battlefield to tremble. Everyone's hearts shook, and they glanced over in shock. But they were no longer able to see Long Chen and the others. Space was twisting around them, and terrifying pressure raged within. Most of them were unable to sense anything inside the twisted space. Xia Yunchong and the others were shocked. Just from these auras, it was clear those 5 experts had unleashed their full power. The ending of this life and death battle was within Long Chen's hands. If he could endure this, there was still hope. If he was defeated, they would all be killed. "Everything's up to you, Long Chen." Xia Yunchong looked at Long Chen's battlefield. Only a rank 8 celestial like him had the ability to peer through this twisted space to see what was inside. Xia Yuluo had awoken slightly from her craziness. Seeing that battlefield in the air and sensing those 5 powerful auras, she felt even more remorse. She hated herself for being powerless. Other than stubbornly scolding people and crying like a child, she didn't have any ability at all. She wasn't any help at this critical time at all. Long Chen was fighting those 5 peak experts all on his own. All the Grand Xia's experts' lives were in his hands. As for her, she could only watch from a distance. "Long Chen, you have to win. I can die, but you can't. I don't want my brothers to die, and I don't want the warriors of my Grand Xia to die either." Xia Yuluo clenched her teeth and prayed. Seeing these 5 experts unleash heaven-shaking auras, Long Chen's gaze became fiery. From the battle, he had completely adapted to his newfound power. He was also more confident. Now that he was facing these 5 experts, any of whom could shake the outside world, he felt pressure but also excitement. That was a primal desire to fight against experts that came from the depths of his soul. He was now completely adapted to his power, and he no longer had any misgivings either. Green Dragon Battle Armor. Green scales covered Long Chen's body. This was his first time using the Green Dragon Battle Armor since reaching the 5th heaven stage. 108,000 green scales covered his body, and his 108,000 immortal platforms suddenly began to fiercely revolve. Each one of them echoed with one of his dragon scales, and in that instant, it was like 108,000 volcanoes were erupting. Boundless energy charged throughout Long Chen's body, and a powerful aura shattered space, piercing through the sky. The spatial twisting around them suddenly vanished, allowing everyone to clearly see a pillar of chi soaring out of Long Chen, parting the clouds. A huge vortex appeared in the sky, constantly revolving. It was an apocalyptic omen that none of them had ever witnessed before. Ah, great. There's no problem at all with my physical body, and I can fight at full power. Long Chen laughed uproariously, and in the face of the 5 of them attacking him, he swung his saber with a single hand. Boom! Their 5 weapons crashed against Long Chen's saber, unleashing a terrifying explosion. Ripples spread out. The ground exploded and the entire world rocked. The distant experts were far away and not impacted by these shockwaves, and yet they felt a terror from their souls that made it hard for them to breathe. What kind of power is this? Those distant experts were all shocked. Let alone blocking this kind of power, just being close to it would turn them to dust. Impossible! How can he be so strong? Roared the elephant race expert. His face was pale with disbelief. Long Chen's power had far surpassed his imagination, and he refused to believe a human could possess such power. The others were shocked too. They hadn't expected that just as they unleashed their full power to kill Long Chen in one blow, his power would erupt to such a shocking level. It took the 5 of them working together to just barely block him. Was this really so strong? This is nothing. I'll show you what true power is. Long Chen sneered. Boom. The 5 of them were blown back by an irresistible power from Long Chen's saber. Split the heavens 4. A huge saber image tore into the sky, and a terrifying killing intent locked onto the 5 of them. Space tore apart, and it was like time was frozen. It was like in that instant, the world was no longer moving. Long Chen used half his immortal platform's energy to unleash this attack. This was a saber that would follow a person to heaven or hell. The 5 of their expressions changed. The eagle race expert roared furiously, pushing his bloodline power to its peak. The runes around him exploded one by one, and his lance blossomed with blinding light. A 3,000-meter lance image shot out. Giant eagle blood lance. The eagle race expert had actually activated his king item, bringing out its true form and even the strongest attack of his bloodline. He knew Long Chen's attack was too terrifying to hold back. The elephant and tiger race experts also unleashed the full power of their king items and bloodlines. The tiger race expert's martial weapon was actually a sheath around his claws. It lit up, and a huge claw image slashed out. The 2 Bloodkill Hall's assassins didn't dare to tarry. They closed their eyes, and their foreheads suddenly split open. Blood dripped out, forming a strange design. It was like the face of a fiend. 2 3,000-meter figures appeared behind them. Then those 2 figures actually merged. Once they merged, heaven-shaking killing intent exploded out. It was like this figure was their killing god. It slashed out a huge attack. Their 4 attacks crashed into the blood-red saber image. When those 5 attacks collided, the world became silent. After a breath, a fierce explosion erupted. Light that was more blinding than the sun devoured heaven and earth. Those distant experts were too shocked to even continue fighting. Quick, retreat! Xia Yunfeng shouted, ordering everyone to fall back. If they were struck by this light, then other than the rank 8 celestials, the rest would all be annihilated. Xia Yuncheng also stopped fighting. Using a movement art to slip away, he pulled along 2 heavily injured Grand Xia's experts as he fled. The ancient race, Pill Tower, and Grand Han's experts also prepared to run when Han Wenjun announced, "Everyone, there's no need to panic. I brought my Grand Han's ancestral item, the heaven-fermenting divine jar. It can definitely block it." Han Wenjun took out a pitch-black jar. Mysterious runes were on it, and it immediately grew in size and enveloped all of them. This was also an ancestral item, a treasure that had been passed on within the Grand Han for countless years. In order to avoid any mistakes, they had even brought in this ancestral item. Xia Yunchong and the others glared hatefully at them, but they had no choice but to continue fleeing. Escaping that terrifying light was impossible, but they hoped to get far away enough that its power would weaken enough to only injure them instead of killing them. Boom! That light collided into Han Wenjun's ancestral item. Divine runes lit up on it, and that terrifying impact only caused it to quiver slightly before it stabilized. Stop! Come with me! Xia Yunchong suddenly shouted and led everyone in the direction behind the ancestral item. Due to the ancestral item, a large portion of the light there was blocked, making that the only safe place. They had only just reached the spot when the light struck them. A maelstrom of broken runes hit them. This maelstrom easily tore through their armor. It was like millions of tiny blades were cutting their skin. But they were delighted. Fortunately, the Grand Han's ancestral item had blocked a portion of this power, or most of them would have died. You want to take advantage of me? Keep dreaming. Han Wenjun sneered upon seeing this. He was just about to reduce the ancestral item's protective area when a clanking sound rang out. The entire ancestral item trembled fiercely, causing Han Wenjun's expression to completely change. Long Chen's attack had forced his 5 opponents to unleash their strongest attacks. This was a world-shaking exchange, and the immense power blew back all 6 of them. Long Chen didn't know what condition the others were in, but he felt like a hammer had struck him. He almost coughed up blood. He hadn't expected the 5 of them to be so strong. Even the 4th form of Split the Heavens hadn't managed to kill them. But unbeknownst to him, the 5 of them were even more shocked. They felt like they were about to go insane. They were top figures amongst rank 8 Celestials, practically unrivaled within their realm. They had never before had to join hands with anyone to fight their enemies. Now, they had not only joined hands with others, but the 5 of them had even unleashed their strongest moves, only to violently cough up blood. The 3 ancient race experts were a bit better off. After all, they had the bloodline of the Xian beasts, giving them powerful physical bodies. But the 2 Bloodkill Hall's assassins were almost killed. They were covered with blood, and their bones were broken. They tumbled back like a mass of pulp. Long Chen didn't know about all that. All he knew was that it felt like a mountain was crashing into his chest. As he flew back, the direction he went was precisely where Han Wenjun was. He saw that huge jar. He was no longer a novice, and he instantly recognized it to be an ancestral item. Without saying a word, he took out the black pot and smashed it at the jar. With an explosive sound, the pot smashed against the jar. Everyone inside felt like they were inside a bell that had been rung with a hammer. That feeling was unendurable. Those with weaker cultivation bases fainted, and some unlucky fellows even directly died. Those who didn't faint didn't feel like it was a blessing. Another smash came, making their heads buzz. They felt like their brains were being turned to mush. The fierce ringing continued. Han Wenjun only managed to react now, coughing up a mouthful of blood that landed on the ancestral item. But by the time he did this, he was shocked to find that that ancestral item had become incredibly weak. He even sensed waves of terror coming from it. In front of everyone's shocked gazes, their Grand Han's ancestral item, the heaven-fermenting divine jar, shattered. Its fragments fell to the ground, revealing a black pot and Long Chen who was covered in sweat. By now, the maelstrom had already passed. Long Chen looked at the sluggish Han Wenjun. He wiped off some sweat and said, "Although you're a bunch of brutes, I wouldn't feel good seeing you die inside a pickling jar. Now I've finally managed to break it and save you. There's no need to thank me, as this was only right of me. Well, goodbye." Pow! After spouting out nonsense, Long Chen viciously slapped the stunned Han Wenjun. He shot back like a shooting star. But even if he had less than a third of his spiritual yuan, he knew that with his 108,000 immortal platforms, that was still double what an ordinary rank 8 celestial possessed. When he had fought Dan Chu, the reason why he had been able to steal so much spiritual yuan was because alchemists had the most abundant spiritual yuan other than would cultivators. And yet, even though so much of Dan Chu's spiritual yuan had been sucked away, it still hadn't been enough for Long Chen. 30% of his spiritual yuan was enough for him to kill these exhausted fellows. The Bloodkill Hall assassin was only shouting this in order to get the ancient race experts to come and help. If the ancient race experts just watched, the two assassins would be killed instantly. That wasn't good for any of them. If they died, the ancient race experts would also find it difficult to escape from Long Chen. The ancient race experts disdained working together with the Bloodkill Hall assassins, but they had no other choice right now. Long Chen was too terrifying, and if the two assassins were killed, their hopes of victory would drop. Therefore, they used the little bit of energy they had just recovered to attack Long Chen. Long Chen smiled slightly. The runes on his boots lit up, and it was like he had teleported. He arrived in front of the two assassins. Their swords stabbed toward him from two different sides. Although they were enemies, Long Chen had to admit their combination arts were practically flawless. Even in such desperate straits, their attacks weren't chaotic. They weren't panicked at all, and their control over their sword, timing, and power was still at their peak. One sword was aiming for Long Chen's heart, while the other was aimed at his ribs. It looked like they were launched at the same time, but their timing was different. There was no way to block them at the same time. But if he blocked them separately, it would give them a breather. Long Chen raised his arm protector to block one sword, while he allowed the other sword to stab through his ribs. That sharp blade contained all the assassin's energy, and even Long Chen's body couldn't block it. It pierced through him. No! The assassin whose blade was blocked let out a startled cry. As for the other assassin, at the same time as his sword stabbed through Long Chen's body, Long Chen's saber slashed through his waist. Last time, he had also been cut at the waist by Long Chen, but he hadn't died. This time, he wasn't so lucky. The power contained in Long Chen's saber directly blew him apart. One of the twin assassins had fallen, causing the other assassin's eyes to almost tear out of their sockets. He went insane, roaring furiously. Long Chen pulled out the sword stabbing through him, causing his blood to spurt. He icily looked at the other assassin and shook his head. "Aren't you the killing god's servants? Didn't you say death is returning to the embrace of the killing god? I sent your brother to see your killing god, so shouldn't you thank me? Why get angry?" Long Chen's voice was full of disdain. When they killed others, they were merciless and vicious, treating their lives as nothing more than blades of grass. But now he became so fierce upon having his brother killed? Since he knew pain, why could he be so indifferent when it came to killing others? Die! The remaining assassin attacked Long Chen like he was insane. He had already lost the calm of an assassin. Losing his twin brother made him crazy. Attack together! The three ancient race experts' hearts turned cold upon seeing Long Chen kill one of the assassins. But it had happened too quickly for them to stop him. Now seeing the other assassin enter a crazy state, they launched all-out attacks. They knew if they didn't, Long Chen would quickly send the remaining assassin to the killing god, and then it would probably be their turn. Right now, each bit of combat power was incredibly precious. Raging flames devour the heavens. Once the fourth of them charged at him together, Long Chen suddenly shouted. Violet flames exploded out of him, their heat incinerating the world. Not good. The three ancient race experts' expressions changed. When those violet flames enveloped them, they were shocked to find they were unable to resist at all. The instant the flames touched them, their skin turned black. The eagle race expert's feathers were all incinerated, and his wings became charred. Those feathers were so powerful that even blades couldn't break them. They were even stronger than treasure items. But they weren't able to stop the soul-devouring violet flame. This was just the start. The flame energy continued to wreak havoc over their bodies, trying to turn them to ash. If they were in their peak state, they would have been able to use their powerful spiritual yuan to resist, but now, they didn't have the energy to block these terrifying flames. Once their last dregs of energy were used up, they would be instantly incinerated. Retreat! The three of them fell back at the same time. These terrifying flames weren't something they could handle. Just as they retreated, Long Chen's saber slashed through the assassin who was also wrapped in flames. Another Bloodkill Hall assassin died. Long Chen kept their swords. They were incomparably sharp king items. Not only had Long Chen gained 2 powerful king items, but he had also gained 2 rank 8 heavenly Dao runes. Adding on the slain Dan Chu, Li Wanji, and Han Bijuan, he had a total of 5 rank 8 heavenly Dao fruits. After that, he shot after the 3 of them. He also expanded the domain of his flames. The 3 of them had just managed to reach the edge of this flame domain when it explosively grew, once more trapping them. Their expressions turned green. At this moment, Long Chen appeared in front of him, his saber slashing down. The 3 of them were horrified. Suddenly, the elephant race expert took out a white, crescent object. This crescent object was only an inch long, looking like nothing more than an ornament. But it was covered in divine runes that emitted a terrifying pressure. The small object shot out at Long Chen's saber. The instant it left the elephant race expert's hand, it rapidly grew, becoming 3,000 meters long. Boom! The saber image and that object collided. Long Chen's saber image was instantly blown apart, and Long Chen coughed up a mouthful of blood as he was knocked back. An ancestral item? Long Chen was shocked. He hadn't expected the elephant race expert to have also brought in an ancestral item. Furthermore, it was such a terrifying ancestral item. At this time, he managed to see that it was clearly an elephant's tusk. This tusk was covered in blood-red lines. It's the tusk of a 10th rank magical beast. Long Chen let out a startled cry. This kind of aura was something he remembered. In truth, this wasn't the tusk of a magical beast, but a 10th rank Xian beast. It was left behind by a true expert of the barbarian elephant race. This tusk contained the power of that expert's terrifying cultivation base. It possessed its own spirituality. Long Chen rejoiced inside that he had launched a saber image attack just now. If this tusk had struck Blooddrinker's true body, it would have been damaged. "Lend me your power." The elephant race expert shouted and suddenly coughed up a mouthful of blood, forming hand seals. That blood transformed into a rune that landed on the tusk. Once the tusk received the nourishing of the essence blood rune, it unleashed blinding light and seemed to come alive. The eagle and tiger race experts placed their hands on the elephant race expert's back. Their little remaining spiritual yuan poured into the elephant race expert's body. With that help, the elephant race expert's hand seals quickened. The tusk shot toward Long Chen. This time, the tusk's runes all lit up, and wherever it passed, space collapsed. It was full of apocalyptic power. Long Chen's hair stood on end. This tusk was absolutely horrifying. It was a true killing item. "Little pot, you are an existence left behind by an expert on the level of gods and immortals. You can't fail me now. My life is in your hands." Long Chen clenched his teeth and took out a seemingly unremarkable pot. When he looked from it to this 3,000-meter elephant tusk shooting toward him, his scalp turned numb. "Fuck it." Long Chen threw out the black pot. It smashed into the elephant tusk. Boom. No light came from the pot. It still seemed as ordinary as ever. But the mountain-like elephant tusk stopped on contact with an explosive sound. Long Chen saw the pot and tusk deadlocked in the air. This small pot and huge elephant tusk were completely mismatched in size, but they were motionless in the air. The eagle, tiger, and elephant race experts all violently vomited blood at the same time, their faces losing all color. That elephant tusk had sucked away all their spiritual yuan, and its collision with the pot caused them a backlash. What shocked the 3 of them was that this pot was like dog's hit, refusing to get off the tusk. The tusk was trembling violently, unable to escape the pot. Its runes began to rapidly dim. "Bastard, that pot of his is an absolute treasure. My ancestral item can't handle it. Activate your ancestral spirit soul calming jades." The elephant race expert placed a finger on his forehead. His forehead began to cave in. This was a suicidal move. But just as his own power was about to kill him, a jade plate on his waist lit up, and a barrier of light enveloped him. Within this light was an elder with elephant tusks. He was filled with shock. The eagle race expert and tiger race expert also tried to suicide, activating the protection of their soul-calming jades. "What's going on?" 3 light barriers enveloped the 3 of them. The elder from the elephant race jumped in shock when he saw the tusk, and he hastily formed hand seals. Energy transmitted out of the light barrier. The elephant tusk seemed to gain some kind of support, and its runes once more brightened. A terrifying pressure came from it, one far stronger than before. Seeing that the pot was being shaken by some kind of energy and might be thrown off at any moment, Long Chen hastily flew over and placed a palm on it. He poured in his spiritual yuan. With Long Chen's support, the pot became stable again, once more sticking to the tusk firmly. Through this, Long Chen sensed the pot crazily absorbing energy from the tusk. Not only was it absorbing the tusk's energy, but it was also absorbing the energy the elder was pouring into it. That elder was the top expert of the elephant race. But due to the spatial difference, he could only transmit some energy through the soul-calming jade. The amount of power he could use was less than 1/10,000th. Seeing that he was unable to extricate the tusk from the pot, he hastily called out to the other 2 ancient races' elders. Those 2 also poured in their energy through their soul-calming jades, giving it to the elephant race elder. They worked together to support the tusk. The tusk blazed with light as it attempted to shake off the pot, but then it quickly dimmed back down. Wave after wave of energy was absorbed by the pot. The elephant race elder's expression changed upon seeing that. He shouted, "Long Chen, the ancient races, and you still haven't reached the point of you die or I die. I hope we can all take a step back and exchange our hostility for friendship. How does that sound?" This elder finally realized the situation. Although he had great power in his own right, he was unable to use it through the soul-calming jade. If this continued, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Long Chen, and he would lose his ancestral item and his disciples. "What did you say? The wind here is too strong." Long Chen tilted an ear toward him, acting like he hadn't heard. Did this old bastard think he was an idiot? Exchange hostility for friendship? Furthermore, they only represented 3 of the countless ancient races. How could they speak for the ancient races in their entirety? And even if they could represent the ancient races, did asking for a ceasefire now have any meaning? Just at this time, a mass of people rushed over. It was Xia Yunchong and the others. They had annihilated their enemies and had captured Han Wenjun alive. Thus, they came to support Long Chen. Seeing Long Chen holding an iron pot while facing 3 experts of the ancient races shocked them. "I'm going to help Long Chen." Xia Yuluo and Xia Yunchong both started flying over. Although they didn't have much spiritual yuan left after this intense battle, they still had some. "Come back. Your actions are a violation of the 4 Nations Treaty," ordered Xia Yunfeng. According to the 4 Nations Treaty, the ancient nations were outside the scope of the cultivation world, and they could not interfere in the cultivation world's affairs. In the same way, the 4 ancient nations would not be disturbed by the cultivation world. This was a rule transmitted down through countless years. Previously, the ancient races, Grand Han, and Pill Tower experts had attacked them. Naturally, they were allowed to fight back. But now it was different. Now it was an enmity between Long Chen and the 3 ancient races. If they interfered now, the nature of their actions would change. It would be giving their opponents an excuse to find trouble for the Grand Xia. "Are you stupid? Long Chen only became enemies with them because of us. If we just watched to the side, would we even be human?" roared Xia Yunchong, ignoring his orders. Xia Yuluo and Xia Yunchong were both grabbed by Xia Yunfeng. He shouted, "Do you realize that this courage of yours is putting the safety of the Grand Xia's millions and millions of commoners in danger?" Xia Yunchong's expression changed several times. He clenched his fists. "They already broke the treaty. Why would we need to endure?" "Because we are the Grand Xia's princes. Everything we do is for the Grand Xia's commoners. If you are willing to see the 4 nations be devastated, go ahead." Xia Yunfeng glared at Xia Yunchong and Xia Yuluo. Flames were raging in Xia Yunchong's eyes. The 4 ancient nations were outside the scope of the cultivation world. They were publicly acknowledged as peaceful lands by the entire Martial Heaven continent. The four ancient nations had had peace for countless years. They were protected by the entire continent's righteous path. The people within could live without worry about participating in the struggles between sections. However, this had been ruined by the Grand Han's wild ambitions. If Long Chen hadn't come and reversed the tide, the outside world wouldn't have even known such a treacherous thing had occurred within the four nations' ancient remnant. Their grievance would be forever buried here along with the truth. Now that Long Chen needed help, helping him was equivalent to participating in the cultivation world's struggles? What kind of idiot logic was this? However, in reality, the world was just that idiotic. Now that the Grand Han's experts had all been killed, Long Chen was losing against the three ancient race experts, and if they helped, the consequences would be dire. There were many powers eyeing the four ancient nations like wolves in the dark. The four ancient nations had many precious resources within them. Like greedy hyenas, those powers wanted their dragon vein karmic luck. Third brother, all the dragon vein energy is now with you. You are the future emperor of the Grand Xia, so look after the nation properly. Starting today, I, Xia Yunchong, am leaving the Grand Xia's imperial family. Everything I do has nothing to do with the Grand Xia. Xia Yunchong patted Xia Yunfeng heavily on the shoulder. His expression was calm. Since ancient times, it has always been difficult to be both loyal and righteous. I don't want the Grand Xia's commoners to be in danger, but I cannot stand to the side as Long Chen fights a bitter battle for the Grand Xia. Take care. Xia Yunchong flew out together with Xia Yuluo. Both of them went to help Long Chen. Xia Yunfeng's expression was bitter. He knew that Xia Yunchong and Xia Yuluo had resolved to advance and retreat with Long Chen. By helping Long Chen this time, if any of the three ancient races demanded to hold them accountable, Xia Yuluo and Xia Yunchong would have to bear the consequences. In other words, they were prepared to sacrifice themselves. Crown Prince, we should go too. Otherwise, it'd be too sullen. The ancient races have gone too far, said one of the other princes upon seeing Xia Yunchong and Xia Yuluo fly out. Their losses this time were immense. Of the 3,000 people that had entered, less than 200 remained. All of them were full of hatred. 2 of their princes had even died. Xia Yunfeng was also struggling with this decision, as he was the future emperor of the Grand Xia. His responsibility was greater than others, and he saw problems more clearly than them. If it was in a chaotic battle and they accidentally helped Long Chen, that would be one thing. But right now, all their enemies had been annihilated. Going to help Long Chen would give the ancient races an excuse to no longer care about the old taboo. When the time came, the flames of war would sweep over the Grand Xia. But Xia Yunfeng was also a hot-blooded man, and he was furious. His killing intent was starting to affect his intelligence, and seeing his little brother and sister charge out. Fuck. Whatever. Xia Yunfeng suddenly went against his brain for the first time in his life and led everyone to charge over. Grand Xia brats, if you dare to interfere with the personal grievance between my ancient races and Long Chen, my ancient race alliance will sweep through your Grand Xia tomorrow, roared the elephant race elder. Fuck off, you old ghost. I am no longer a member of the Grand Xia. If you want to play, then I'll accompany you, cursed Xia Yunchong furiously. Ignoring his threat, both he and Xia Yuluo arrived beside Long Chen, placing their hands on his back to transfer their spiritual yuan. But they had only just arrived beside him when a lightning dragon appeared and forced them back. Long Chen, Xia Yuluo bit her lip, tears streaming down her face. Long Chen was actually refusing their help. If it hadn't been for him, the Grand Han's scheme would have killed them all. But now, in order to not implicate them, Long Chen refused their help. Xia Yuluo felt even worse. What do you think you're doing, Long Chen? Are you looking down on me? Do I not even have the qualifications to fight to the death alongside you? Demanded Xia Yunchong. He knew this was Long Chen's good intention, but he was unable to accept such a thing. It was a kind of insult to him. Stop shouting so loudly. Today is a rare opportunity for me to show off. Just watch as I destroy these 3 ancient ghosts. Long Chen smiled as he replied. But that smile was a bit forced. Facing these 3 incredibly powerful experts, Even Long Chen felt like he was walking on thin ice. But fortune was found in danger. Higher risk signified higher rewards. Facing the full energy output of these 6 people from the junior and senior generations of the ancient races, Long Chen felt that there was a slight change in the pot. Its aura hadn't changed, and the rune that the mysterious elder had placed on the bottom of it was still dim. All he really felt was that it seemed the iron pot had become darker. Although there was no way to confirm whether the pot was growing stronger, Long Chen could clearly sense the pot absorbing the energy from the tusk and those 6 people. That was definitely a good thing. Since it was a good thing, Long Chen was happy to continue like this against them. This was using other people's food to fatten his own pig. It was delightful, so how could he allow Xia Yunchong and the others to interfere? However, the fact that the 2 of them had been willing to come touched him. And even the always calm Xia Yunfeng had charged over. That filled him with gratitude. He knew Xia Yunfeng wasn't cold-hearted. He had simply been influenced by his father's teachings. All his decisions had to be for the good of the Grand Xia's commoners. In truth, that was a great sacrifice on his part. Not just anyone was capable of doing such a thing, treating millions of commoners as his own family. Lei Long blocked them outside. His divine ring revolved and his violet flames incinerated the sky, drawing out endless energy for himself. He had made his preparations for a drawn-out fight. Long Chen, why don't we stop? We can end things harmoniously, shouted the elder from the elephant race. He could see something was off. As Long Chen continuously absorbed spiritual yuan from the air through his divine ring and violet flames, they were deadlocked. But he had suddenly noticed the elephant tusk was starting to run out of energy. Its core energy was constantly being sucked out by the pot. Continuing like this was not good. What did you say? I couldn't hear you. Long Chen continued acting like he couldn't hear because the wind was too strong. I said let's stop. We can resolve this matter peacefully, exchanging weapons of war for gifts of jade and silk, shouted the elder. What? I can't hear you. You. The elder was infuriated. Long Chen was clearly acting stupid. He shouted, Long Chen, don't you know how to appreciate kindness? Don't force us to use a killing blow on you right now. Damn, you're this badass? Even now, you have a killing blow left? I almost pissed myself. But you know, I'm naturally distrustful. Can you show me that killing blow first to allow me to broaden my horizons? Long Chen put on a terrified expression. That exaggerated expression definitely needed a spanking, and the elder fumed. Seeing that Long Chen refused to bend no matter what he tried, the elder's expression sank. Taking a deep breath, his hand's seals suddenly changed. The light barrier grew brighter, and a powerful pressure descended, causing Long Chen's heart to shake. Long Chen circulated his spiritual yuan around himself to guard. Following the elephant race elder, the other 2 elders also did the same. Their energy poured through the light barrier and into the elephant tusk. The elephant tusk's runes once more lit up and the void shook. Powerful chi waves blew away Xia Yunchong and the others. Even Long Chen could barely keep his grip. Suddenly, the pot was blown off from the elephant tusk along with Long Chen. After that, the elephant race elder's hand's seals changed. The elephant tusk unleashed barriers of light that wrapped around the 3 ancient race disciples. Space began to twist. Fuck, you wanna run? Don't even think about it. Leave behind the elephant tusk and your lives first. Long Chen shot forward with his boots. If they escaped like this, he'd cough up blood. The elephant tusk was already starting to merge into space under the control of the elephant race elder. Boom. Long Chen slammed the pot onto the tusk. Its light dimmed a bit, but the spatial energy didn't pause. It actually directly gave up on blocking the pot and focused on fleeing. Bang, bang, bang. Long Chen smashed the pot over and over, roaring furiously, "Hurry up and stop, or I'll smash you to death." Boom. Space exploded and the light faded. The 3 elders' images completely dissolved. Suddenly, 3 bodies dropped from the sky. They were the 3 talented geniuses from the ancient races. Their transportation had failed. A dim elephant tusk hung in the air, its body covered in cracks. It transformed to become an inch long and floated in front of Long Chen, trembling. It transmitted its emotions of terror and surrender to him. You deserve it. If you had surrendered earlier, wouldn't you have avoided that pain? Long Chen grabbed it, fuming. If it had only surrendered earlier, he would have obtained another supreme treasure. But now he had beaten it to the point that it was half crippled. It would also be unable to help him in the short term. But he sensed that the elephant tusk was different from the blazing dragon cauldron. It was a true killing item. In truth, in this place, it couldn't even unleash 1/100th of its power. An ancestral item was not something a foundation forging disciple could control. As for the elephant race elder, his power was unable to reach this place. So the elephant tusk hadn't even been able to display its power before being beaten into this state. If it had still refused to submit, it would have been completely shattered. Long Chen put away the elephant tusk and then turned to the 3 ancient race geniuses. Their auras were listless. Being forced out of their spatial transportation had caused a backlash that had almost killed them. Their bones were all shattered, and they lay there like lumps. Long Chen smiled icily. Blood drinker on his shoulder, he slowly walked toward them. Long Chen got closer and closer. The eagle, elephant, and tiger race experts were unable to move at all. They were filled with horror. At this time, they had lost the attitude of an aloof expert looking down on all others. Now they looked like sheep about to be slain. They could only watch as a death god slowly walked over to them. Long Chen, I don't believe dash. The eagle race expert did his best to put on a calm expression, but he had only just opened his mouth when a saber cut through his head. Were you going to say you don't believe I'll kill you? Now, do you believe it? Asked Long Chen indifferently. Long Chen had seen many similar people who liked to look down on others, and he had killed many of them. If they could beat someone, they bullied them to death, and if they couldn't, they used their background to frighten others away. He had seen all kinds of ugly faces now. He could easily predict what this eagle race expert was going to say. Even at this time, he still wanted to threaten him. His saber once more returned to his shoulder. But now there was a large bloodstain on it, and blood slowly dripped down its tip. That blood was the essence blood of the eagle race expert. It contained his life's purest energy, which was why it was stuck to Blood Drinker. At this time, Xia Yunchong and the others were looking in shock at Long Chen. They watched as he personally slaughtered a rank 8 celestial of the ancient races. What gave them goosebumps was his calm expression. It was like he hadn't killed an ancient race expert, but simply harvested a cabbage he had noticed on his way. He didn't even bat an eye. Now Long Chen walked over to the tiger race expert. He was terrified and tried to back up, but his body didn't listen to him. He begged, Long Chen, please don't kill me dash. Long Chen's saber mercilessly slashed down. The tiger race expert followed the eagle race expert to death. Did you ever listen to other people's begging when you killed them? Disdain appeared in Long Chen's eyes. Swinging his saber, he walked to the final ancient race expert. He was filled with despair. He had witnessed his 2 companions being killed, and he was extremely unwilling. They were members of the ancient races. It had always been them killing others, but now the tables had turned on them. They had encountered an even more vicious and domineering fellow, one who had no misgivings about their background. Long Chen's saber fell. The elephant race expert was slain. We're all busy, so I won't waste time with you. Long Chen flung his saber, getting rid of the blood. He then reached out to take their spatial rings. These 3 were experts from the ancient races. They definitely had to be rich. They were different from the Bloodkill Hall's experts. The Bloodkill Hall's assassins didn't bring much when they went out to execute their missions. Their wealth remained in the Bloodkill Hall's headquarters. This was one of the rules of the Bloodkill Hall. Each assassin lived by the blade, and they could die at any moment. So they naturally wouldn't bring anything too valuable on their missions. As for the ancient races, they were rich. Perhaps if it was someone else, they wouldn't dare to take their spatial rings, afraid of drawing killers. But Long Chen had long since drawn those killers, so he naturally didn't care. If he could take something, he'd take it. Suddenly, heaven and earth shook. The four nations' ancient remnant began to shake. Xia Yuncheng's expression changed, and he shouted, "The ancient remnant is about to close. We have to leave." There was no time to speak. They scrambled for the spatial portal. But Xia Yuluo suddenly felt a wave of exhaustion on the way. She had fought in a suicidal manner just now and suffered countless internal injuries. She had suppressed them before, but now as soon as the pressure lightened, her injuries erupted out of her control. Just as she began to lag behind, a powerful arm wrapped around her waist and pulled her along. Long Chen. The person carrying her was Long Chen. For some unknown reason, Xia Yuluo felt happy yet also pained and sad. Looking at Long Chen, 100 different feelings rose in her heart, and her tears dripped down. In her heart, Long Chen was a fellow who liked to make trouble and was never proper. She had no idea when he was being serious and when he was intentionally acting wacky. But when something big happened, he would place the heaviest burden on his own shoulders, using his power to protect everyone. In comparison, she felt herself to be useless. She had fallen for Han Wenjun's sneak attack without having the slightest guard against him. Then she had become a hostage, and Xia Yuncheng had knelt toward them in submission in order to save her, destroying his Dao heart. His cultivation base would never advance again. Xia Yuluo wished she was dead. Xia Yuluo began to bawl. She was full of regret and hatred. She hated herself for being useless and not able to block the rain when danger came, unlike Long Chen. "Foolish girl, what are you crying for? Everything's over. We won. You should be happy," said Long Chen. "But I implicated everyone. I implicated my big brother." Xia Yuluo began to cry harder until she wasn't even able to form words. Long Chen also felt helpless about this. In truth, this couldn't be blamed on her. This was the result of her living environment and her teachings, as well as the pampering of her parents and brothers. Now that the consequences of that had caught up to her, the blame couldn't be placed solely on her. Furthermore, Xia Yuluo had already escaped her dreams of Han Wenjun. Putting it another way, even if it was another expert of the Grand Xia, if they weren't on guard, they also would have been easily captured by Han Wenjun. It was just that Han Wenjun was truly garbage to actually choose to target Xia Yuluo. The pure-hearted Xia Yuluo had never imagined that a human heart could be so dark. After being given such a huge blow, she felt like her world was crumbling around her, and she felt herself to be the world's most useless person. Xia Yuluo suddenly began to cough, and blood dripped out of her mouth. Her internal injuries were getting worse. Long Chen hastily fed Xia Yuluo a top-grade healing pill. This pill's effect was extremely strong and would quickly suppress her injuries. But it was like Xia Yuluo couldn't even sense her injuries. Her beautiful eyes were only filled with sadness. Long Chen's heart shook slightly. Thinking about it, he took out another medicinal pill and fed it to Xia Yuluo. Xia Yuluo instinctively swallowed it and quickly fell asleep in his embrace. "Quick! The spatial portal is about to close." Everyone suddenly saw a large spatial portal in the midst of rapidly shrinking. According to this speed, they wouldn't make it. "Everyone come with me." Long Chen handed the sleeping Xia Yuluo to Xia Yuncheng. He summoned Lei Long swallowed everything and then transformed into a bolt of light that charged through the portal. The portal closed. But right before that, Lei Long streaked by. This minor world returned to silence. However, now it had a bit more blood and quite a few resentful ghosts. "Long Chen, you bastard, I'll definitely tear you to pieces." This sentence came out of the three elders of the ancient races at the same time from different places. Their words and tone were almost identical. The eagle and tiger races had each lost a rank 8 celestial. That was not just a rank 8 celestial, it was the person they had been grooming to become their future leaders, existences they had spent countless resources on. But their soul jade slips had shattered, meaning they were already dead. The most unlucky one was the elephant race. They had not only lost a genius, but even their ancestral item had been stolen away. They had lost any connection to it. There were only two possibilities for such a thing to happen. Either the ancestral item was already destroyed, or it had been willing to unstintingly use up a huge amount of its core energy to dissolve their contractual rune. An ancestral item could not easily dissolve a contractual rune. That would cause huge harm to it. In living memory, there were few cases of ancestral items dissolving their contractual runes on their own. But they didn't know that this ancestral item was just like the blazing dragon cauldron. If it didn't submit, it would have been destroyed by the pot, so it had been forced to submit. As for the elephant tusk, although it was left behind by their ancestor, the item spirit was not their ancestor. It didn't care about them. An ancestral item's spirituality was extremely high, and its intelligence was comparable to a child. It had its own emotions, and it knew how to feel fear. They were different from king items. King items were only able to vaguely express their emotions. But an ancestral item could actually communicate with people. Most importantly, ancestral items were normally constricted by slave runes, and due to that, they didn't feel much sense of loyalty. There was no way around it. As long as ancestral items were being nourished by someone, their lifespan was unlimited. But human lifespans were limited. Normally, the powerful experts in control of an ancestral item would place a slave mark on their weapon before dying and leave it to their descendants to nourish and use it. This was also where the name of an ancestral item came from. But while an ancestral item was loyal to the first-generation expert, it didn't have too many feelings for that expert's descendants. They were simply enslaved. Many people treated them as simply tools, and they placed the slave marks so they wouldn't rebel or run. Gather all the race's experts. We're going to attack the Grand Xia, forcing them to hand over Long Chen, and then we'll force him to hand over the ancestral item. Roared the elephant race elder. Icy killing intent filled his eyes. It wasn't just the elephant race. The tiger race and giant eagle race were also gathering all their experts. The pill tower had long since started making moves. A huge storm was brewing. Long Chen and the others flew out of the Four Nations' ancient remnant, and they saw an army of hundreds of thousands at the exit. Imperial Father, Master. Xia Yunchong hadn't expected that his master and his father, Xia Yuyang, would be waiting for them. What moved him was that Xia Yuyang's emotionless and stern face now had a relieved smile on it. The light in his eyes was also not so sharp as it usually was. Instead, his eyes were full of emotion and even slightly red. You're all back alive, good. Xia Yuyang was emotional to see Xia Yunchong, Xia Yunfeng, and Xia Yuluo return alive. According to his original estimates, there was less than a 1 in 1,000 chance of them surviving. After all, since their enemies had dared to attack, they had to have been 100% confident. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so brazen as to target their dragon vein. Seeing them alive, even someone like Xia Yuyang couldn't keep control of his emotions. Sorry, father. Yunlin Yunhua, Xia Yunchong was aggrieved. Those two were his brothers, but they had died in the battle. Battle is not a game. There's no way that no one will die. My Grand Xia's men are all heroes who will bleed for the Grand Xia and even sacrifice their lives. Their actions were honorable, so don't feel grief. Xia Yuyang patted Xia Yunchong's shoulder. Although he was comforting them, the sadness in his eyes couldn't be mistaken. Master, disciple had disappointed you. Xia Yunchong suddenly knelt in front of the white-haired elder, too ashamed to look at him. The white-haired elder looked at Xia Yunchong with remorse. He shook his head and helped him up. He could see that Xia Yunchong's undefeatable aura had vanished. He couldn't help but sigh inside. Cultivating the undefeatable Dao was incredibly difficult. Not being defeated in a whole lifetime was almost impossible. Right now, the one who felt the worst about this had to be Xia Yunchong. He was powerless. Imperial Father, you were? Xia Yunchong looked at this huge army that was burning with killing intent. They were the elites of the Grand Xia, and the majority of them were kings. If you hadn't come out alive, I would have personally mobilized the Grand Xia's army and annihilated the Grand Han's capital as revenge for you. Xia Yuyang's voice was full of killing intent. He had seen a few clues and knew this was done by the Grand Han. It's not so simple. We have to quickly return to the imperial palace. I need to give you a full report, said Xia Yuncheng hastily. Seeing how serious Xia Yuncheng was, and knowing his character, Xia Yuyang didn't say another word. He directly activated a transportation formation, and they all arrived in the capital. What? The Bloodkill Hall, Ancient Races, and Pill Tower all participated. Xia Yuyang was in a room at the palace with Long Chen, Xia Yuncheng, Xia Yunfeng, and the white-haired elder. When Xia Yuyang heard the whole story, he was shocked and infuriated. The white-haired elder's expression was also cold. The four ancient nations were situated outside the cultivation world and didn't participate in the cultivation world struggles. These powers had truly gone too far. But whether it was the ancient races or the Bloodkill Hall, the Grand Xia wasn't able to provoke them. And there was no need to even mention the Pill Tower that was supported by Pill Valley. However, for these three great powers to publicly violate the Four Nations Treaty and support the Grand Han in annihilating the other three nations, people was going too far. Long Chen, tidy up your affairs. I'll send you away, said the white-haired elder suddenly. Xia Yuncheng nodded along. Long Chen, let my master send you away. My Grand Xia won't be able to protect you this time. Leaving now is your best option. Long Chen shook his head, relaxed. There's no need for you to worry about me. In truth, I was the one who implicated the Grand Xia this time. Don't spout nonsense. The Grand Han had clearly been plotting this for a long time. If it hadn't been for you, Xia Yuncheng was infuriated to hear Long Chen try to take responsibility for this. Long Chen waved his hand. Don't get so emotional. Let me finish. I don't care how long the Grand Han was plotting this secretly. My arrival definitely caused them to carry out their plans in advance, so I was still a factor in this. For so many of the Grand Xia's brave warriors to lose their lives, I feel guilty, and there is an inescapable responsibility that rests on me. Child, if it hadn't been for you, this generation of my Grand Xia's experts would have been annihilated. Don't even mention the word guilt, said Xia Yang. He was speaking from the heart. Originally, he had already made his preparations for a battle to the death. But because of Long Chen, the Grand Xia's flame of life was not yet blown out. Xia Yuncheng had even absorbed the dragon vein energy of the Grand Han, Grand Chu, and Grand Zhou from Han Wenjun. Now that he had returned, his dragon vein energy reconnected to the Grand Xia's dragon vein, strengthening the Grand Xia's karmic luck. In the end, the Grand Xia had benefited because of Long Chen. In the future, the leader of the four nations would definitely be the Grand Xia. As for the other three nations, they had no excuse to reclaim their dragon vein energy. The only other possibility was that the Grand Xia, Grand Chu, and Grand Zhou would devour the Grand Han, and the four ancient nations would become the three ancient nations. However, the four nations wouldn't do such a thing. This was also part of the Four Nations Treaty. Because the four ancient nations were the only peaceful lands within the Central Plains, if the four nations chose to go to war, the Central Plains would no longer have any pure lands. The Central Plains powers would definitely interfere. So even though such a huge-scale war was essentially impossible, the Grand Han had done such an outrageous thing, and the three ancient nations had countless other ways to target them. Their decline was set in stone. As for the Grand Xia, so much karmic luck had gathered there. They would flourish in the future. Long Chen's contributions to the Grand Xia were immense, so Xia Yuyang told him to never say he felt guilty about this. Since Uncle Xia wishes for me to not say it, I won't. In any case, I'll just say that this matter has irritated me extremely. In the Four Nations ancient remnant, I didn't even have time to search for treasures. I was simply hunted like a dog. If I didn't have such a hardy life, I'd have long since died. I, Long Chen, am not the kind of person to accept such a thing lying down. I have to give them their corresponding reprisal, said Long Chen. Hearing this, even Xia Yuyang and the white-haired elder were shocked. They looked at him in disbelief, feeling like they had misheard. Within the Four Nations ancient remnant, Long Chen had killed 7 rank 8 celestials. Li Wanji and Han Bijuan had even been killed in one blow by him. The Bloodkill Hall's twin assassins, the Eagle, Tiger, and Elephant races experts, not one of them had managed to escape. They had heard that Long Chen had even used a pot to snatch away their ancestral item. After killing that many of their experts, after snatching away their ancestral item, he was the one who felt like he had lost out? Wasn't he a bit too crazy? Even people like Xia Yuyang and the white-haired elder who had seen the world had never seen someone as domineering as that. Long Chen, when the ancient races, Bloodkill Hall, and Pill Tower join hands, this region is basically dominated by them. That's especially true of the Pill Tower. They have numerous henchmen that will respond en masse to their call. The Grand Xia will soon be surrounded, and even if your Xiantian Dao Sect's master came, he wouldn't necessarily be able to save you, said Xia Yuyang. The Pill Tower can be basically eliminated from any calculations. That old idiot Dan Teng, I can play him to death with his pitiful brains. As for the Bloodkill Hall, they only assassinate targets in the same realm. Within the same realm, those twin assassins said that they are this region's strongest assassins. For now, there won't be any stronger assassins sent, as it's impossible for them to send Jade Core assassins after me. Then they would really lose all face. As for Foundation forging assassins, I can send them all to reincarnate and see their killing god. So, the only power that can threaten me is the ancient races. The ancient race alliance is truly powerful. But I am just a Foundation forging disciple, and they couldn't possibly use their full force to attack me. If those three races asked for support from the entire alliance, they'd also lose face. And so at most, the opponents should be limited to the experts from those three races. Although each one of them has the power of a sect, I'm not afraid of them. That's why I don't need to leave. The Grand Xia also doesn't need to care about them, nor is there any need to mobilize your army. Just leave it to me, said Long Chen calmly. Seeing that Long Chen could remain so calm in the face of the three powers threat, Xia Yuyang and the white-haired elder were shocked. His analysis of the problem was spot on. For him to be able to see a problem so clearly while under such a threat, it seemed like his sudden rise was no coincidence. But despite how confident he seemed, the two were still worried. Long Chen, think carefully. You are dancing on the tip of a blade like this, warned Xia Yuyang. If Long Chen left now, then with the white-haired elder's power, it was extremely likely that he could be sent away without anyone else being the wiser. But the more time that passed, the more dismal those odds became. It could be imagined that the Pill Tower and those three races would immediately send people to lock down the Grand Xia, making sure to cast an inescapable net. I know. Don't worry. Long Chen smiled. In truth, Long Chen had his own calculations in his mind, and those calculations told him that leaving now was already too late. He was sure that after he had killed Dan Chu and snatched the blazing dragon cauldron, the Pill Tower had already started sealing the Grand Xia's border. Not even a mosquito could fly out of those transportation formations. Whether it was Dan Chu, the blazing dragon cauldron, or his own secrets, the Pill Tower had to take them back. The thing that gave Long Chen the biggest headache was that bastard Shen Jizi. It seemed that the old fellow truly had skill. If he could predict which way he would leave, then no matter how powerful the white-haired elder was, he wouldn't be able to protect him. So it was impossible for him to leave. But he didn't get that angry about this. He felt that as soon as he had started cultivating the 9-star hegemon body art, there had never been a pause in being hunted. He had long since grown accustomed. The one thing he refused to allow was for him to implicate others as he was hunted down, especially not people like Xia Yunchong and Xia Yuluo who he treated as his own family. Long Chen had to give them an explanation, or he'd feel bad inside. Seeing how Long Chen had already made his decision, Xia Yuyang didn't try to force him to leave. Xia Yunchong was called over by his master. From his tone, it seemed that they were going to get closer to Han Wenjun to see if Xia Yunchong could rediscover his undefeatable Dao. This was why Xia Yunfeng had stopped Xia Yunchong from killing Han Wenjun in the ancient remnant. Xia Yunfeng had been calm. Xia Yunchong's undefeatable Dao had been broken because he had knelt to Han Wenjun. He who caused the trouble should fix it. That was why he had kept Han Wenjun alive. Long Chen also took his leave and went to the Wine God Palace. But he had only just walked out of the palace when he suddenly smiled coldly. Turning, he slapped a person across the face. Pow! The person Long Chen slapped appeared to be a Confucian scholar in his 30s. He carried a folding fan in his hand and truly looked scholarly. He was in the midst of walking down the road and admiring the scenery when Long Chen's slap struck him across the face. The scholar blasted into the distance, and a clear handprint appeared on his cheek. His face even deformed. "Bastard, why would you hit me?" roared the middle-aged scholar. This caused quite a disturbance. Even some of the city guards came over. Currently, Long Chen was not that far from the imperial city's entrance. That was a restricted area, limited to the royal family. Normal people weren't allowed to approach. For them to cause a ruckus in front of the imperial city, the city guards were just about to scold them when they saw Long Chen's face. They hastily shut their mouths. Last time, Long Chen had cut off Li Wanji's head in the imperial palace, and that had shaken all of Grand Xia City. Within Grand Xia City, only a few people didn't know who Long Chen was. Thus, seeing that it was him, those guards acted like they didn't see anything. "Did no one ever teach you it's rude to curse at people?" Long Chen also roared back at this person. The scholar almost coughed up blood. "You're the one who hit me out of nowhere. I hit you so you think you can curse me? Completely unreasonable," shouted Long Chen. "You." The scholar didn't even know how to retort to that. He had never seen anyone so unreasonable as to declare a person couldn't curse back when someone hit them. His face was swollen like a pig's. "You're a Confucian scholar, making you a disciple of Confucius, a model for etiquette, an embodiment of morality and virtue. Even if I hit you, you should have asked me why, to determine the truth of the matter rather than instantly cursing me. Understand?" sneered Long Chen. In truth, this fellow was no Confucian scholar. His cultivation base was hidden, but he couldn't hide his hostile aura from Long Chen's senses. For this person to have put on such a meticulous disguise, he was clearly here to spy on him. So Long Chen had directly slapped him to test it out. As a result, Long Chen found that this person was a soul transformation expert, a person on the level of a hall master. Although he had done his best to disguise himself, at that moment of life and death, he had reflexively defended. The power of Long Chen's slap could kill a king if they were caught off guard. But this person was only left with a handprint. His status was instantly exposed. The scholar then roared back at Long Chen, quibbling over whether he had a right to curse him. He hadn't even noticed that he had already revealed himself. Long Chen was full of disdain. For such an idiot to still be alive was a miracle. "Why did you hit me?" demanded the scholar. "Don't try such useless things on me. Go back and tell your master that I'll be busy for the next few days, and I'll handle them when I have time." Scram. Long Chen once more slapped the scholar. He was still shocked over how he had been recognized when he was struck, and as a result, he was once more sent flying. This slap was even more vicious, and the scholar shot out like a shooting star, crashing into a wall. That wall let out a light barrier, causing him to rebound. The scholar vomited a mouthful of blood. Within it were also dozens of teeth. Just at this moment, the scholar's aura was fully released. Everyone was shocked to find that he was actually a soul transformation expert. He had no choice but to unleash his aura, as that slap from Long Chen had almost killed him. If he continued to hide his cultivation base, he'd be killed. He rapidly retreated, on guard for Long Chen's next attack. A bright sword appeared in his hand, and sword chi wrapped around him. His expression was solemn. This was his first time encountering such a powerful slap. He was preparing himself for a mighty battle when he suddenly realized Long Chen's figure had vanished. "There's no need to look. He already left. You should hurry up and scram. Your little cultivation base isn't worth a second glance in my Grand Xia," said one of the city guards disdainfully. Thinking about it for a moment, he couldn't help but add, "Soul transformation experts as weak as you are truly rare. It's my first time seeing such a thing. Can I ask, how did you possibly survive to this point through the cultivation world struggles?" The scholar's expression sank. He left without a word. With his status exposed, he had no choice but to leave. Long Chen didn't kill him, because he wasn't even worth it. He was just a spy, with an ordinary cultivation base and weak combat power. He was clearly just an errand boy, and killing him had no meaning. Most likely, such a person would only be able to suck up to others for the rest of their life. Their true power was pitifully weak, and Long Chen couldn't be bothered to kill him. Long Chen simply wanted to use him to pass on the word to the Pill Tower. It was unlikely he came from the ancient races, because the ancient races disdained to work together with other sections. Only those people who wanted to suck up to the Pill Tower would act as errand boys. Long Chen was warning the Pill Tower. They wouldn't dare to enter Grand Xia City because the Wine God Palace was there. When the Wine God Palace had expelled Pill Valley's experts back then, they had said that Pill Valley's subordinates were not permitted to set foot within the Grand Xia. The Wine God Palace was a mysterious existence. No one knew their true power. But Pill Valley truly hadn't dared to start any conflicts with them in the past few years. So within Grand Xia City, Long Chen was definitely safe. As for why he was warning the Pill Tower, he was intentionally infuriating them to make this matter even bigger. Long Chen continued forward. Suddenly he felt someone pull on him. He was startled and he followed him into a winehouse. "Seventh Elder, what is it?" whispered Long Chen after they found a table to sit at and ordered a few wines and refreshments. "I heard you're in trouble? Do you need my help?" asked the seventh elder. The current seventh elder looked like a traveling wanderer. His face had been transformed. But Long Chen instantly recognized him through the specific aura of the original devil race. "I'm fine. It's just some insignificant trouble I can handle. Seventh elder, let me offer you a cup." Long Chen poured out 2 cups of wine and offered one to him. The seventh elder smiled and drank the cup. But his expression quickly changed. "What fine wine!" Of course it was fine wine. This was the wine made by the Wine God Palace's disciples. The seventh elder had never drunk such wine before. "I'll give you a few jars. How is the development on your side?" asked Long Chen as he poured more wine for the seventh elder. "Everything's going smoothly. But the more we grow, the more we find that we don't have enough money. Many of my skyscraping world's resources cannot be taken out and sold openly. We can only grow slowly," said the seventh elder. The original devil race had been gathering all kinds of resources. But as they expanded, their wealth was unable to keep up. After all, developing a business required capital. That took time to accumulate, but they were all in a race against time. Time was pressing. The Martial Heaven continent had countless resources, but the original devil race could only gain through their regular channels, as they didn't have special connections. Hence, their progress was slow. Furthermore, the original devil race had to be extremely careful. Any clue might expose them, and then it would be extremely troublesome. A horse only gets fat by eating at night, and only a person that adapts and goes beyond conventional means gets rich. As I see it, you should see if you can form a connection with the ancient races. One reason is that they have plenty of money and a huge amount of resources. And the other reason is that I have a good relationship with them. In the future, I'll be able to cooperate with them many times. I'll plunder them and you sell the things back to them. Use their own money to make money, said Long Chen. Do you really think that's a good idea? The seventh elder was shocked. Long Chen truly had guts. After taking what was theirs, he wanted to sell it back to them? That was too evil as well as too dangerous. It would raise suspicions. Hee, seventh elder, have you not heard of money laundering? Long Chen smiled. What are you talking about? Hee, it's something that can't see the light of day. After reselling something several times, it'll become true gold. To put it more simply, first, you have to shock the ancient races with your power, making them feel like you aren't easy to provoke. You will buy a few treasures of the ancient races from a mysterious underground organization, and then you will sell them to the ancient races. They will definitely have suspicions, but that's fine. The cultivation world has many black markets. Some people will obtain objects from the corrupt path, even from the righteous path's hands, and then they'll stealthily sell those things to the corrupt path. This is a common occurrence. The ancient races' items are also sold on the black market, but for their face, the ancient races will always disguise themselves as another power when they buy them. That's why you need to form another underground power, so you will be able to work on this from 2 angles. Furthermore, that underground organization must be vicious. It would be best to immediately snatch some of the property of some other underground powers to intimidate them. It'll be difficult at the beginning, but if it succeeds, the profits will increase by tens of times. Only by making money from both the open market and the black market is it possible to quickly accumulate wealth, said Long Chen. Right now, this was the only way to accumulate wealth quickly. Long Chen's target was the ancient races, because he had quite a few things from the ancient races in his hands. Those 3 spatial rings from the 3 ancient race geniuses were filled with treasures. But those things were mostly only useful to the ancient races. Furthermore, many of them were marked, and selling them openly would be a slap in the ancient race's face. In this case, any open sellers would be hunted down. But it was also true that these were things that ancient races needed. They knew the black market had sellers of these things, so they always had people stealthily buying them in the black market. Things sold on the black market were all normally at least 30% cheaper than at the open market. Alright, since you think this is possible, I'll go gather a few experts and establish an underground power. The 7th elder wasn't able to resist this enticement in the end. Don't worry, 7th elder. As long as this is done properly, it'll definitely make a killing. After all, the things you're selling came to you for free. Long Chen handed over 3 spatial rings. Long Chen spent a long while conversing with the 7th elder. The original devil race didn't know that much about the situation in the outside cultivation world. Long Chen hadn't personally come into contact with the black market, but he had been told of it by Zheng Wenlong. Apparently, the profit that could be gained in the black market was frighteningly high. But it was also extremely dangerous. Many of the things sold there were objects that could not see the light of day. They could easily incite hatred and hostility. It was precisely because they were objects that couldn't see the light of day and couldn't be sold in the open market that they could be obtained for sometimes just 1/10 of their true price on the black market, and then sold for 50 to 80%. That kind of profit was enough to turn anyone's eyes red. Long Chen suggested this risk because it was worth it. It might be a bit difficult in the beginning, but once everything was set up, they would obtain unprecedented profit. Furthermore, he knew the original devil race was extremely powerful and was definitely capable of establishing themselves in the black market. In truth, those underground powers were usually formed of runaways or fugitives. This was a high-risk and high-reward option, because while there was a huge profit to be gained, they could easily anger the other powers. A single mistake could cause their own destruction. Furthermore, the underground powers were very complicated, and any of them was capable of pulling dirty tricks for their own profit. But with the original devil race's power, Long Chen was confident they could establish 1 or even 2 underground powers and slowly infiltrate their way in. With that done, the original devil race would have businesses in both markets and could rake in more profit. Long Chen warned the 7th elder that the underground world was violent and bloody. They had to treat it differently than the open market, or there would be consequences. He proposed a feasible strategy to the 7th elder. By carrying out that plan, it wouldn't be long before they could establish their own territory in the underground world. Originally, Long Chen didn't need to make things so troublesome. He could simply send word to Xia Yuncheng or Zheng Wenlong, and the original devil race would be able to develop rapidly. But he chose not to do this. If there came a day when the original devil race was exposed, he would have implicated his friends. So he only wanted to rely on himself. Furthermore, he predicted he would be fighting a long battle against the ancient races and the Pill Tower. Unless he died, they would fight to the last man. Long Chen wasn't a kind-hearted man. If someone dared to raise their blade against him, he would dare to cut off their head, no matter who they were. The Pill Tower's items were usually useful to him, but the ancient race's treasures were mostly useless. They would just be trash if he kept them. So hearing the 7th elder's troubles, he thought of this business. In this way, when he snatched the ancient race's treasures, he could give them to the original devil race to sell. After ironing out some details, Long Chen once more asked about Yu Shaoqian. But she had yet to come out of seclusion. Leaving the wine house, he went toward the Huayan auction house. But after 2 streets, he sensed he was being watched. There was a king at the end of the road wandering aimlessly. He looked completely ordinary in the crowd. But Long Chun clearly sensed his hostility. With the 9-star he gem and body art senses, it was completely obvious to him. No matter how much someone tried to disguise themselves, he would recognize them as enemies. They dare to act so brazenly? Long Chun frowned. Whether it was that middle-aged scholar or this ordinary king, they were all idiots with garbage combat power. Although their disguises were good, they were unable to hide their hostility. This kind of person was just cannon fodder. Why would the Pill Tower send such people to observe him? But Long Chun quickly realized the crux of the problem. These fellows were probably not even sent by the Pill Tower. They were simply taking this initiative to suck up to them. Because the Pill Tower's ability to summon supporters was so great, all they had to do was put out some news and there would be countless people willing to work for them. Of course, the more people there were, the more the good and bad would be intermingled. The Pill Tower's experts didn't dare to enter the Grand Xia due to the Wine God Palace. But the disciples from other powers could enter. As long as they didn't cause trouble in the Grand Xia, they wouldn't be violating the 4 Nations Treaty. 1, 2, 7. Damn, the Pill Tower's influence truly is immense. As Long Chun continued walking, he sensed over 10 hostile auras. Some of them didn't even bother disguising their actions. They directly took out jade plates and wrote something on them. They should be transmitting some information. He had seen brazen people, but never anyone so brazen. Long Chun was infuriated. Long Chun walked up to one of them, and without a word, slapped him across the face. The king's mouth split open, and half his teeth flew out. "Do you know why I hit you?" After slapping him, Long Chun clutched his throat. With half his face caved in and his throat caught in Long Chun's grasp, the king was absolutely horrified. He had only been sent here as an extra. No one had told him there would be danger. Seeing him not speak, Long Chun slapped him a dozen times. "Who said you could not speak? You're pretty tough, eh?" Brother, it's not that he doesn't want to speak, but that he can't speak with your hand on his throat." One of the passers-by couldn't bear to continue watching and spoke out. "Oh, it seems that's true." Long Chun apologetically let that person go. As soon as he was free, that person raged, "Why did you beat me up?" But he had only just spoken and Long Chun once more slapped him multiple times across the face. "If I knew, why would I ask you?" This king's cultivation base was completely ordinary, and he wasn't even close to a match for Long Chun. He was like a chicken caught in his grasp, unable to even fight back. At this time, the person who had advised him realized something was off. He saw quite a few people suddenly retreat into the distance. "Fuck off." Just at this moment, someone in the crowd charged at Long Chun, trying to subdue him. As a result, Long Chun sent out a kick that landed squarely on his crotch, sending him flying. As for the king in his hand who was almost unconscious, he threw him out so that he crashed into the other one. They crashed into a building, and that building's formation activated, causing them to rebound and cough up blood. "To the idiot spying on me, you should back off a bit. Right now, my mood's not very good. If you anger me, don't blame me when I execute you before saying anything." Long Chun's gaze swept over the crowd. Long Chun truly was furious. Even if they had to spy on him, they should do it from further away. Seeing them be so brazen as to watch him from so close, his fury soared. This was too far. They were looking down on him. "Bastard, we only came to the Grand Xia for some sightseeing. For you to say we're spying on you, what proof do you have?" One of the kings stood up and pointed at Long Chun in righteous indignation. As a result, a blood-colored light flashed, and he exploded into a bloody mist. Living a too peaceful life really has turned you into an idiot. I'm not a judge or a bailiff. I'm not going to play the proof game with you. If you want to follow me, then fine. But remember, my temper's not good. I like to use the blade in my hand to talk reason with others, said Long Chun coldly. "You tyrant! Is this what the Grand Xia has become? Another king stood out, but his words were cut off halfway as the same blood-colored light flashed, turning him into a bloody mist as well. Everyone was shocked. Long Chun's first attack had come too suddenly for them to see, but they had seen the second slash. That saber instantly sealed any of that person's retreat paths, and despite taking out a martial weapon to block, that king was still killed, his weapon shattered. If you want to die, go ahead and follow me. Long Chen turned and walked away. But he had only walked down 2 roads when his figure vanished. Just at this moment, another figure hastily fled in the crowd. I said that people who want to die can follow me. Looks like you really want to die, so I won't let you down. Long Chen let out a punch. That person didn't even have time to release his aura. He hastily took out a huge shield, but what shocked everyone was that Long Chen's fist blew through the shield and blasted that person to bits. This king item shield had no effect. The shield landed on the ground with a clank, like thunder in their hearts. They became covered in a cold sweat. Then looking back at Long Chen, they saw he had already walked away. At this time, everyone slowly approached the king item shield. When they saw it clearly, they sucked in a cold gasp. The king item was covered in cracks. It had just been a bit away from shattering. He broke a king item barehanded? What a terrifying physical body. The surrounding people felt their hair stand on end. This was too frightening. How could a physical body become so terrifying? Amongst them were people who had been sent by their sects to monitor Long Chen. They felt a burst of fear in their hearts. When they had been given this mission, they hadn't been told how dangerous Long Chen was. They had thought they were just spying on an insignificant foundation-forging disciple and treated it as just some easy work. But now they all knew that they had been thinking too simply about this. Spying on Long Chen was too dangerous. He was practically a demon star. You know, I've suddenly gained some insights and have to go into seclusion. One of them shook his head and made a random excuse before running. This was too dangerous. It was nothing like what he had heard. The others also left. Their sects wanted to suck up to the pill tower, but in truth, the pill tower didn't care about them. They were essentially snubbed no matter what they did. They had only been doing this to perhaps gain a favor. But this favor wasn't so easy to gain. Long Chen ignored them. He directly walked into the Huayan auction house. Once the boss came to see him, Long Chen handed him a photographic jade. Long Chen stopped in the Huayan auction house for a full 2 hours. He only left once he was sure he had clearly expressed all his intentions. Long Chen knew that the entire Grand Xia was under the watch of the pill tower. The few transportations formations were definitely under their control, and as soon as he left, he would meet terrifying experts waiting for him. Even if he didn't use transportation formations, the pill tower had countless dogs to do their work. Getting out of their blockade was extremely unlikely. Once he left the Huayan auction house, he found that those amateur idiots had lessened by quite a bit. One in the opposing tea house and one in the alley. Yes, and there's one in an even further place. It's much more peaceful. Long Chen smiled faintly. It seemed his intimidation had been quite effective. Those people were too irritating. For them to be so brazen and treat him as if he was prey was unbearable. Long Chen went to the Wine God Palace. On the way, he sensed countless experts within Grand Xia City. Practically every place was under the watch of an expert. It was clear the pill tower was already monitoring all of Grand Xia City. But these people were in set places. They were eating, drinking, or simply sitting in some corner. They didn't dare to follow Long Chen. Long Chen ignored these people. As long as none of them dared to follow him like a housefly, he wouldn't be bothered to kill them. Entering the Wine God Palace, the first thing for him to do should have been to offer incense to the wine god's portrait. But this time, the greeter didn't give him any incense and allowed him to enter directly. Once he was inside the Wine God Palace, as he walked through the tranquil land, he felt his worries fall from his heart. No matter how chaotic and bloody the outside world was, the Wine God Palace still felt like a wonderland, a pure land untouched by the mortal world's vexations. The mountains and scenery were still the same. But he didn't see a single person. He arrived in front of the high priest's palace gate and was just about to open his mouth when the high priest's soft voice rang out. "Enter." Walking into the palace, he saw the high priest sitting in lotus style with a faint smile on his face. He didn't even look like a cultivator. He seemed more like a content and kind elder. "Come and sit. Have a taste of my new product." The high priest placed 2 small wine bowls on the table. He poured out a bowl of wine from a jar for Long Chen. The wine was amber-colored and viscous like honey. It had a fragrant aroma, and seeing it, Long Chen was absolutely shocked. This wine actually had countless runes flowing within it like stars flowing in the night sky. "High priest, you succeeded?" cried Long Chen. "It can't count as success. It's just a start. But I have to thank you for it, so try it." The high priest smiled. Long Chen raised the bowl and drank it in one gulp. When the wine entered his throat, it felt warm and his whole body relaxed. Then his body shook. The 108,000 immortal platforms in his body automatically began to revolve. At the same time, the orbit of the stars in the night sky appeared in his mind. Their revolution contained boundless mysteries, making him feel enlightened. His heart became clear. High priest skills are truly divine. You really did succeed in merging the void-breaking star pill into the wine. The wine energy moves the stars, the fragrance frees the cosmos. The revolution of the stars is the movement of the cosmos, and the fragrance cleanses the mundane heart. This is a realm of shedding one's mortality and becoming an immortal. This little one is far too lacking for this wine, and my drinking of it is a waste of a treasure. Long Chen was full of admiration. Back then, Long Chen hadn't had any hopes of this really working. He had picked out an extremely ancient pill formula from his pill sovereign memories that could theoretically be merged into the high priest's wine. But while the theory worked, there were many areas that could cause failure. Long Chen had simply felt that giving other people formulas and not the high priest would make it seem like he was lacking ability, so he had thickened his skin and wrote what he could. But he hadn't expected the high priest to really succeed in merging the void-breaking star pill into the wine, and so quickly at that. Furthermore, there was no way for him to evaluate the effect of this wine, because its level was too high. It wasn't something Long Chen could comprehend with his current realm. All he felt was this wine had already merged with the heavenly Daos and had surpassed the scope of his understanding. Inside, he prostrated himself in admiration toward the high priest. All he had done was propose a general framework and given some suggestions, but the high priest had actually managed to make such a unique divine masterpiece. I'm humbled. Not just anyone could state the wine's mysteries so simply. Furthermore, this wine formula was greatly beneficial to my own enlightenment. Through a few alterations, it can be said that I have peered onto a new path. Long Chen, I am extremely grateful to you, said the high priest emotionally. No, this little one does not dare to accept your praise. Long Chen bitterly smiled. The high priest's realm had reached a level he couldn't imagine, so he naturally couldn't accept credit. These 2 jugs are my current greatest masterpieces. I'll give them to you. The high priest handed 2-foot-tall jugs to Long Chen. Then many thanks. These were treasures, and Long Chen wouldn't stand on courtesy, nor would he act like he was. He directly took them. I heard you've run into some trouble. If you have any difficulties, you can go ahead and voice them. Although my wine god palace doesn't like battle, we have some ability, said the high priest. To tell the truth, I actually have some plans for the wine god palace. Well, more accurately, I have some plans for a certain person. Long Chen scratched his head, embarrassed. I understand. Little fellow, you really are evil. That's fine. My wine god palace will not interfere with the personal grievances of its disciples. The high priest suddenly laughed. He had clearly seen through Long Chen's intentions. Child, you can go now. You were extremely helpful to the wine god palace this time, and if you need any help, just ask. This was a promise. Long Chen hastily rose and bowed. Many thanks, high priest. I will remember this favor. This promise was far too precious. What kind of joke was this? The wine god palace was an existence not even Pill Valley dared to provoke. With this promise, his confidence grew. Long Chen didn't like asking for help, and he definitely wouldn't unless he had no choice. But with this promise, he had another layer of protection. Leaving the high priest's palace, he felt completely relaxed. He hadn't gotten far before someone blocked his path. "Little brat, I've been waiting a long time for you." The one blocking Long Chen's path was the fierce-looking Tu Qiansheng. "Oh, Fatty Tu, are you challenging me again? To tell the truth, I really admire your ability to continue challenging me despite losing over and over and over again." Long Chen smiled evilly at Tu Qiansheng. For some unknown reason, he felt like today's Tu Qiansheng was different from before. "Cut the bullshit. This time, I'll definitely beat you. But before our fight, come try my new peerless divine wine." Tu Qiansheng suddenly summoned a table and poured 2 bowls of wine. Tu Qiansheng was different from the other disciples. He roamed about the wine god palace without a specific area to himself. He went wherever he wanted. "Cheers." Tu Qiansheng and Long Chen sat down, touching their bowls. Long Chen gulped it down. While watching Long Chen drink his wine, Tu Qiansheng smiled. "You fucker, you damn fatty, you dare?" Long Chen's expression suddenly changed. Boom. Long Chen's divine ring suddenly appeared behind him, and 4 stars emerged in his eyes. His 108,000 immortal platforms crazily revolved as his energy involuntarily erupted, causing the void to shake. Long Chen did his best to suppress this energy. If he allowed it to simply erupt, the surrounding land would be blown apart. His face turned red from how hard he was holding back. Now he understood why he had felt the fatty to be a bit different today. So he had already made a new kind of wine and was conning him. If he allowed his energy to erupt, then the surroundings would definitely be destroyed. Although the wine god palace wouldn't say anything, it would be too embarrassing for Long Chen. Haha, Tu Qiansheng laughed upon seeing Long Chen's miserable plight. Tu Qiansheng felt like he had never been so carefree. Ever since knowing Long Chen, he had been stifled to the point of wanting to murder someone. Now he was finally venting and he felt like dancing. "You damn fatty," cursed Long Chen. But then he suddenly shut his mouth and focused. Tu Qiansheng's wine was like gunpowder. It instantly ignited all his energy, and Long Chen needed to vent this energy somehow. But he also couldn't release it and had to continuously suppress it. He was shocked. This wine's energy was absolutely terrifying. It was actually stimulating his potential. Although he had only drunk 1 bowl, he could feel the wine stimulating his body's hidden potential. His physical body was once more strengthening after being strengthened by the Mandara body-tempering pills. "Don't worry, let it out. No one will laugh at you. The more you hold back, the smellier it'll be when it comes out." Tu Qiansheng laughed uproariously. Long Chen ignored him. After several breaths' time, he managed to suppress this torrential energy. But he was truly moved. After suppressing it, he could clearly feel his physical body had been strengthened through this domineering stimulation. "You damn fatty, you dare to con me like this?" Long Chen glared at Tu Qiansheng, who was currently smiling. "Hee, don't be so petty. A man should be magnanimous." Tu Qiansheng patted Long Chen's shoulder. But that smile made Long Chen want to slap him. "This wine's not bad. Give me as much as you have." Long Chen patted the wine jug. "Do you have no shame? Why should I give it all to you?" demanded Tu Qiansheng disdainfully. "Because I'm about to send you some enormous good fortune." Long Chen laughed mischievously. "You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.